Welcome back, everyone, to the SMITE Founders Series Playoffs NA Edition. As we continue moving forward through our back, or I guess maybe jumping around is more accurate, watching games that are happening. It's Gore, it's J-Mac. And coming up next, one that I think is really exciting and one that we're all excited to see, one team will be going to LAN. Between Cowabunga and Food Drive for Globe, guaranteed, absolutely happening. And so those two teams being able to kind of put their best foot forward, see who's going to go where. Well, we'll just have to find out. We'll look at the bracket, though, so you can see what I'm talking about and where we're at. The very top of the semifinals, you can see Cowabunga, Food Drive for Globe. Best of three. One goes on. They'll play team name, but with 5 M's. That finals match, worth noting now, seeding. First seed, gets to select some group stuff when it comes down to the LAN itself. But it's just seeding. Only first seed matters out of the two. Second and third doesn't matter because of how the group choice selection thing is going to go on, which you can read about on the website. It's somewhere in there because I wrote about it like 3 months ago. Cowabunga, Food Drive for Globe. Two absolute powerhouses that are going to be taking each other on. Wild to me because the loser, no matter what, is going to go up against Borscht. That is insane as a matchup that you're going to have to deal with. And then winner between Scrumptious and Kitty Party will play the winner of that one, and that, well then, you'll never guess it, but determine who is the third team that's going to be going to the LAN in like 3 weeks. So you're going to want to make sure that you're tuning in throughout the day as we watch all of these, or as many of them as we can get into, to see who's going to be going to LAN, how they're going to qualify there. But first and foremost, we've got to get our second team before we can get the third team, and that's where this one starts. And J-Mac, this one people are really excited for all the right reasons. Food Drive for Globe, like you said, kind of this team that's willing to try some things that are different, bring a different element to the table than maybe some of the other Smite 2 teams. Cowabunga, they're just real damn good.
Yeah, Cowabunga almost kind of equate themselves to the Oni Warriors of Season 10, where they're just a group of players who are really good at Smite and really good at hitting their buttons. And so far, there really hasn't been any team that's been able to stand up to them. The Scrumptious of old, all the way back in Open Bracket, was able to take a game off of them, and then the Asterisk set as well. But Food Drive for Globe, it's almost weird to call these guys the underdogs, because they're literally sitting in a top 4 spot right now.
Yeah.
How do you call them the underdogs? But when you look at the beginning of the year, we looked at this team and went, okay, well, we know all these guys. They were pretty good in like the SCC, SOC kind of era, but like they didn't really do so well against like the SPL guys. Now these guys are going toe-to-toe with these players.
And now the question is, can they continue to do so? Will they continue to eat? Is Food Drive related? I don't know. We'll go into picks and bets for game number 1. That's a transition of some sort. Cowabunga will be first pick. And J-Mac, I actually, because I want to, like, what you mentioned, it's like, how do you still consider them the underdogs? I think in most other matchups, we're probably not saying that.
No.
It's exclusively a Cowabunga thing. It's like, man, you've got one really, really great team and one really, really, really great team. And so, well, unfortunately, the really, really great team is the underdog in that consideration.
Speaking of dogs.
And, yeah, speaking of dogs, Kernanos banned, Sobek banned, Anubis, of all things, locked in first and foremost. We've seen he can do a whole lot. This Anubis, this Chalk, they have been very, very high prioritized.
And this Anubis still potentially having a little bit of flex. I think the solo lane Anubis has kind of fallen off a little bit compared to whenever Anubis got his really big buff in his kit, and everybody was kind of trying him out and said, okay, what about mid? What about solo? And solo Anubis was working really well, but anti-heal is still pretty decent in the game. Anubis can kind of get ganked pretty easily now, so we've been seeing him a little bit more in that mid lane. And for Cowabunga and for Paul specifically, this wouldn't really be a god that we would stick out and think, man, that's a Paul god right there. Anubis never really was that point, but he's gone to this pick a couple of times. It's worked out really well for him, so I have faith in what Paul can do with this pick. And then you throw alongside a Yamoja for Aurora, one of the supports of the Smite 1 era, who was slamming this god anytime they got the opportunity to. You have a dangerous top 2 for Cowabunga, but on the opposite end here for Food Drive, by picking up this Chalk Fenrir Raw, this does leave still a slight bit of ambiguity as to where everything is going, because Raw could be mid, could be solo. Chalk could be jungle, could be solo. Fenrir could be support, could be jungle, could be solo. We don't know where these picks are going to be locking in just yet. I think with this Zeus that most likely, and I say most likely, confirms that this is going to be Raw going into the solo lane, Chalk going in the jungle, Fenrir support, and throw the Zeus over in mid. But we still could have technically Zeus going into the duo lane to play in that carry style. So one thing that Food Drive has going for them right now is that there are a lot of really good players who just have picks that work really well for them, and they're just good on those spots. So you can put any of these ones anywhere, and this level of ambiguity they provided always leaves a little bit of head scratching.
Man,
and this
that was supposed to help. That one was supposed to be the
so,
one that that it got locked in, and we knew where everything was going.
No, I think at this point, we're more likely to know where these gods are going by putting up a dartboard with all 5 of their pictures and throwing the dart at it.
Well, I've got great news, and the good news is that we don't have to try and figure it out. It seems like we're good to jump into it. So without further ado, Food Drive for Globe Cowabunga, game number 1 coming at you.
One of these teams will be joining Team But with 5Ms at LAN. But which one? Cowabunga, who have topped North America and already are starting aggressive here against Food Drive for Globe, who want those honors as well. Inbound and Jorby taking you through the action. And Inbound just kind of set it up. You know, these are two teams who are just really good at SMITE. But either team, if you don't have a good time here, you go down and you got to play borscht in the lower bracket. So a tough ask here in this best of 3, and also in that lower side if you don't end up taking it here.
Yeah, these teams are both really good, but as alluded to on the desk, this is a really good team in Food Drive for Globe versus just a team that is on another level. Cowabunga is, they just don't lose. They just don't lose games. They don't lose. They're like the team risk of NA. They are the best team, and they've proven it time and time again. But I do think Food Drive for Globe kind of has this like uniqueness and weirdness that makes them a very difficult team to play against. I mean, you even saw in their P's and B's, it's like, well, I mean, this is probably going here, but it might not. This is probably going here, but it might not. And J-Mac, I was 100% agreeing with everything he was saying. And he only got one thing right. The Fenrir's in support. They put the Chalk into solo lane. They put the Alma in jungle. Ra goes mid. And then the Zeus is playing in the ADC role. It's a weird comp across the board. But I really kind of like how they've ended up with. My only issue is Zeus is a very big boom or bust character, especially in duo lane and especially into Yamoja. You're either going to be getting ahead and kind of running this game, and anybody who steps in front of you is going to be getting one shot, or you will be fodder and you will be inting and you will be dying off cooldown to Panatom, Aurora, Solar Troll. The other side of things on Cowabunga side is I really like the comp that they have drafted. There's a lot of Anubis prio for the side of NA. You don't really see that ever in EU. EU's kind of locking in Jingwei early. NA likes Anubis, and they don't really like Jingwei. They'll pick the Jingwei, but they'll let it go down to like 9th, 10th pick. I want to see what can be done with this Anubis, because so far I've not really been, you know, shown the light and why he's prioed so much. Like he has his strengths, but he also has his weaknesses, and actually Aurora takes a lot of damage there. Probably no kill potential, but it's just that is the damage that Zeus provides here early, Jorby.
Yeah, and I mean, why you pick the Fenrir to pair him, right? You want to get aggressive as early as possible. And I mean, look, the Fenrir support has not seen a lot of success as it's been picked. But also, I think in those games where we've seen that support kind of falter is when the Fenrir is just scared. And you simply cannot have any fear if you're going to play Fenrir support. Especially with this Zeus, you will hop on and get the stun, and that's exactly how you want to play it. Tegvir will get first blood to get this duo going early for Food Drive.
And actually, I think that was a misplay by Yarkor. He walks towards Aurora to try to body block the autos, but the chain lightning hits them both, ricochets off of it, and gets that kill. Solar Troll getting ganked in right lane by Valo, but he should be fine. All the damage was used there on that little bit of burst. But that's something that there's not another character in duo lane that, you know, you try to body block their damage and they get more damage off of it. Zeus's chain lightning, yes, he's not really building any intelligence usually with the ADC build. Usually it's like a Fatalis, you'll have your lifesteal item, like that's where your damage is coming from, it's your in-hands. But early game Zeus chain lightning still does a whole lot of damage. It sets up his auto attacks because he's then able to stun you, lock you down, get more auto attacks off. And we've already seen that mistake by Yarkor to walk into that range to kill Aurora. I think Aurora's probably dead anyway, but the craziest thing about that was they were zoning when Happen was level 1, Jorby. There was a level 1 Fenrir, and they still felt like they couldn't walk into that because that's how much damage Fenrir does at level 1 and then Zeus does just in general.
Why he does that leap first, right? I mean, that stun at level 1 is so powerful. And that's that mistake that you can make, it becomes a lot more punishing if he lands it. And obviously, we saw it from Happen. So it's the start that you want from Food Drive for Globe. But as we've seen many times, you know, you can have a great start. It does not matter if you let this go late. PPM was kind of talking about it in his post-game interview too, right? He's like, that's fine. You guys need a lead to beat us. We don't need a lead. We just have to last. You know, you got to have that late game mentality, which is exactly what Cowabunga have to have with this comp that they do have. They have to Roar has to Riptide right back. But I do like the idea here on the Zeus ADC. You know, it's a will imposing type of play. Meanwhile, you do have a little bit of damage being done on this side. Searing Pain! Globe getting the snipe here with the wrap. Coming across. Yarkor's there. We'll get the kill. Tegvir. You can't be messing around in the enemy jungle for too long. Now Happen is kind of caught between a rock and a hard place. Well, luckily for him, he should be able to unearth himself. Actually, he's just going to stick around. Might be close to a Ragnarok, which is why. Well, either way, he's not going to get the buff steal. Still going to get the brutalize. Age gets forced out of Yarkor. Happen's actually avoided a lot of damage here. And will get out for free. That one kind of surprised me.
I actually loved how Happen has played this early portion of the game. A lot of the damage that he's eating, he's trading his brutalize, which gives him protections, into that damage, so he's not taking nearly as much, and he's still just doing a ton of damage to you. And like a lot of their plays have been made off of what Happen's doing. It was a very clean snipe by Globe, also killing Panatom, but it was also just a trade. And yeah, it's a trade. Panatom for Tegvir, but that's like the Tegvir that you want to put behind. You want to put the Zeus behind. So I think in the end, that's a decent trade by Cowabunga there. Slows down this dual lane for Food Drive for Globe. But I want to see Food Drive for Globe keep playing to this side of the map. Keep playing around Happen. Let Happen dictate fights and let the rest of the team kind of play around him. Because so far, Happen's played nearly perfect. And I've loved all the plays that he's looking for. I just need to see a little bit more... just a few more fights, not necessarily fighting for nothing, but you know, go for this next purple buff, go for this next speed buff. You have such a good early game comp. Fight with it. Try to dominate Cowabunga early.
Yeah, Aurora just got his ult, so River's Rebuke will be available to help with the zoning, as well as Airstrike for additional escape. Ragnarok pops. You're gonna grab the Yamoja and try to kill it with a 3v1. The lightning storm in the era of retreat. Aurora, there was no escape for him as he ran into the storm and got shocked.
And Aurora's going to be trying to rush this Talisman of Purification as quick as possible. That was like the one opportunity. Maybe he'll get a second one if Aurora doesn't farm efficiently. But that was like the one opportunity to just guarantee yourself a very easy kill. A lot of damage on top of that Fenrir ult. But now Aurora's already about 1,000 gold away from that Talisman. And as soon as he gets that, the gameplay is going to change. Happen's no longer going to be able to just jump in and look to pick somebody up and then kill them with that. It's going to be trying to bait it out, or it's going to be him trying to split away Aurora first to then try to find the ultimate. But again, that's just another really good play by Happen. I want him to keep playing this aggressive Fenrir because he's played nearly perfectly. He's going to do a lot of damage with this Glad Shield also. And he's making Panatom uncomfortable. He's making Aurora uncomfortable. And that's his job as this aggressive support.
You can see no one really willing to go in until they know they have a chance on him. Aurora trying to find the damage, but Happen is juking like he's on Dancing with the Stars. He barely takes any damage. And that's kind of the scary thing too, right? When you have the aggressive Fenrir, but he's also just avoiding all of your return damage. That's just terrifying. Panatom will get a lot done here against Globe, who's forced to pop, and you are dead. Good night. Paul finds you with the ult, and Globe gets deleted. So mid lane not going exactly the way that they want here, and Yarkor will be clearing the lane, but Happen is putting some pressure on, and Food Drive are keeping up that pressure. River's Rebuke up to try to zone them out of it. Happen will get the stun. Lightning Storm as well, so they're doing the work here on the duo lane. You don't get the kill on Aurora, but you are going to force the back.
And Happen actually had ultimate there. I assumed he thought Aurora was just going to die. And that's with Aurora getting the purple buff also. That's a nice little win by Cowabunga there. Slow this game down, get the pick on the Globe into right lane, which I was kind of curious why Globe was pathing all the way up there by himself. I think he was just getting that ward down and he got caught out, but nobody's around you in mid lane. I think that was just bad timing maybe to look for that ward, because now that he's dead, we have to deal with this fed Anubis who got the kill, Jorby. That is the one thing. Again, I'm going to beat it into the dirt. Getting ahead on Anubis is the most crucial thing, because from ahead, he's dominant. From behind, he is just fodder. So I want to see them keep trying to play through this Anubis. On the opposite side, I want Food Drive for Globe to play around Happen some more. Keep letting him make plays. Keep letting him be the enforcer, the aggressor, because he's still doing, it's been a perfect game by him.
I mean, you still have the Jingwei here, who has at least kept pace despite all of the presence and all of that early game aggression from Tegvir. Cowabunga holding firm and haven't let these first 8 minutes get away from them finding those favorable trades. Pantheon has not found the kind of presence that you want Loki to find early on either. He's kind of been boxed out of a lot of fights, thanks to Happen, really, because he gave early attention over to that duo side, right? But because Happen's sitting so deep, you know, it's kind of hard for Pantheon to actually find any kind of presence there. So he's forced to go other places to get that value, and he's found it here. Well, with that, oh my God, Pantheon will get credit for the kill, but make no mistake about it, that is Paul with the Death Gates.
And that's
Ragnarok
just
as well on the other side. Sorry, I thought that one was going to happen there. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I mean, if he doesn't have the purifications there, Aurora's 100% dead. He just rushes this item to be able to live spots like that. And that play in middle, just a great play by Paul and Pentatom. They've just been on the same page. They know how they want to combo, and they kind of know how much damage they're going to be doing. And I think Globe's positioning, he's just not been getting much help. He's been positioning maybe a little bit too far forward in punishing spots because he went for this shell. We've talked about this shell where it's not really bought too much anymore. It's obviously bought to, you know, counter this Yamoja, but when you buy the shell, you don't have that survivability quickly, and Goldfear was pulled down to about 1,000 health. Happen jumps in. Thunder is used, been destroyed by Cowabunga. They do get that Gold Fury after Vala was the one that originally pulled that. So a little bit of a misplay for the last few minutes by Food Drive. They've kind of thrown away their early lead that they had.
Yeah, I mean, they almost had like, what, 1,500 gold lead there, and or just over 1,000, excuse me, and all gets wiped away from one Gold Fury. That's the hard part, right? This is kind of like what we saw with Team Risk yesterday. You talked about Cowabunga being the NA Team Risk. Is that any team that's against them, sure, you get the early lead here, sure, you get a first blood there, but the longer the game goes on, the more the difference starts to appear, the more you see why the top team is the top team. Now, Food Drive, it's still even. We're still very early. However, you see them come back in this where we should have seen Food Drive, as you were alluding to, really press their advantage, press their lead, but you give up an objective. Now it's even. You haven't put the kind of pressure on in this duo lane to really impose your will against them, and everyone's evened up. That's not how you want this duo lane to be going. Paul also finding ways against Globe, not good. And in solo lane, I mean, we haven't really seen too much action on this side. We have seen Solo or Troll move around with some early rotations for Cowabunga. But either way, you're starting to like what you're seeing from them as things start to swing their way a little bit more.
Yeah, and kind of making up for that poor early game and the really good early game by Happen. And with that early game that Happen has used, he got Tegvir this lead, and Tegvir, instead of opting into like a Fatalis, which is a lot of the times what we see from Zeus ADC, usually it's a Fatalis second item, he goes for this Shifters. Paul actually dropped on the ultimate. He has no purification available. The ultimate does miss. Paul is able to walk away, trades the ult onto Valo, and Valo's getting very low, does able to escape. Panatom looks like he's going to be a little bit some of the knockback.
Oh, the Riptide gives Panatom a kill on Valo. What a play there from Aurora to make sure you get that kill, and now you can really press on him. The Solo or Troll got involved as well. Anubis will survive, and what a play there from Aurora, pulling Valo back into that. Looked like Valo had escaped. Instead, the River's Rebuke as well to stop that Ragnarok from pulling them too far back. It's a fight that Food Drive executed on, and one that they failed on. Cowabunga with a huge response there in the mid lane.
And now we see this Anubis just becoming a little bit of an issue. You saw how much damage he did to this Amaterasu. He burned through her, and she is building pretty survivable with her current build. She's got that Pharaohs, so she's going to be having some protections. She's got that Golden Blade, who's also going to be giving some health. And she really got ripped through by the Anubis. And it's not like Paul's building this one-shot build. He's building a lot of utility. The Gem of Focus, movement speed, cooldown, Soul Gem, a little bit of health, some cooldown, some intelligence. And he's still doing that much damage just because of the base levels into his abilities. So this Anubis, as the game goes on, is becoming more and more of an issue. But I'm still got my eye peeled on this Zeus build. What's the Tegvir Zeus build gonna be looking like? Because I'll say it. Most ADCs stick to the tried and true Jingwei, Cern. Maybe they'll play like an on her game here or there. Maybe Izanami. Tegvir plays Susano ADC, he plays Zeus ADC, and he crafts these really interesting builds that, like, when you think about it or when you see it, you're like, that's a pretty good idea. And it makes very good value. So I want to see what this next item he's going for. Could be something like a Fatalis. Could maybe be just something that's a little bit more attack speed oriented too. But I think Fatalis eventually becomes an item for the Zeus.
Yeah, the shifters is not something I see built too often on him, but like you said, when you think about it, it does kind of make sense considering how Zeus has to position his survivability in fights. In mid, I mean, you see what Talisman of Purification is a common item. You see Zeus pick up just so he can have that kind of escape. Shifters obviously doesn't give you the anything that Talisman gives you, but you know, similar in terms of the protection category of having power or getting protections when you're under duress and need to escape. Either way, Cowabunga slowly gaining on the gold lead. Ever since they got that Gold Fury, they've kind of started stacking. You see them up almost tier 2K or 2.5K now, and slowly starting to build a little bit of a lead here 15 minutes in. Karmic sitting around that mid lane. Paul also back. Paul is healthy here in mid as well. Happen taking a look at him. Waiting for an opportunity to move in, but Pyromancer has been started on the right side by Panatom. And Paul will maybe pick it up for free. Death Gaze to get it right before Happen jumps in. Brutalize is not going to do as much as Paul wants, and Blink to respond against the Ragnarok. He will at least find a bite, and Panatom might be in a little bit of trouble here, but gets leaped on and is forced out, I believe, the Assassinate to escape. Still the fight continues. Solo or Troll zoning out Karmic, doing his job, sticking with Chalk. Right back to the mid lane, so you're a couple of ults, couple of blinks, and not much more.
Both solo laners rotating to that, getting a few stacks on their cloaks. Both of them opting for this more scaling-oriented build, but, I mean, it does have a lot of early game strengths. Glide Shield is a very strong item. Soul Gem is a very strong item, but Cloak is another item that we see sometimes in solo. I wouldn't say it's rare, but it's kind of dependent on the solo laners. Half the solo laners love this item. Half the solo laners don't really opt into it too much. It is an item that when you get to the late game, it is the most tanky you can be with just one item. It's giving you protections, it's giving you mitigations, and it's giving you cooldown, allowing you to proc your abilities more, whether it's Glad Shield, whether it's Soul Gem, stuff like that. Pause on that. We got a Gold Fury pull. Solar Troll's rotated.
It happens sitting here as well. But
weird.
Just be a hopeful steal. They actually just pull off of it there. Karmic was coming in as well. You're gonna start it again? No. Well, an interesting standoff. They're still over there.
Pulled again?
And they actually pull off here a second. Food Driver grabbing the Gold Fury now. Yarkor's looking for a way in, and he may find it. Karmic trying to zone them out. It's not working though. They're going right in on Food Drive. Still, they're taking the Gold Fury. It finally gets unleashed. And now everyone's reset for the team fight. Solo or Troll here with the spear for the stun, but Ragnarok is up. Rivers Rebuke in response. He can go nowhere. And it happens forced out of the fight. Not getting Karmic's trying to get in this fight because he got zoned out for a second. Happens low, searing pain. Finds a little bit of a mark, but not too much more. Amaterasu will as well. Finds two on the stun. Nobody goes in on it though. From Food Drive for Globe. Solo or Troll's gonna hop in this time. Health bars slowly dropping on this side, but Food Drive, they're the ones who slowly get pushed out of it. Looks like Cowabunga may come away with this Gold Fury, as everyone's fully back for Food Drive for Globe. They've completely disengaged, and it should start this now. There you go. Cowabunga do get this Gold Fury. Maybe.
And they got that Naga also, and maybe looking to be contested by Food Drive. This is only 6K. They have the Zeus here also dropping down to 5K. Naga was used to tank it. It's always risky. You always kind of want to pay attention to it a little bit even after you drop it when you have Naga or Nuwa minions, because those don't drop the aggro. Eventually, though, they do die. It does end up being reset completely. Paul looking for the wrap on mid. Globe is going to be getting 100-0'd by Paul. A little assist there by Aurora, but for all intents and purposes, that was a solo by Paul.
Yeah, the death gaze. Proper on the namesake there. Nice one, Paul. You talk about the Anubis. The Anubis being ahead is potentially the most dangerous god in the entire game, and this should be enough. Happen might have a way in, but Paul and company will lock down this Gold Fury. If they're able to zone Happen out, it should be theirs. As a little pop here from Yarkor. They know Happen's there. They're absolutely forcing him out. That should do it right there. A very long fight at this Gold Fury. Falls finally to Cowabunga. Well played overall there. That pick in mid onto Globe from Paul opens that whole play up, and they play it perfect.
So far, it seems like this mid lane is being exploited very hard by Cowabunga. Paul now up 2 levels, and Globe is now 0-3. Really not, or 1-3. Not getting too much done with this Raw. He got the nice, really early snipe onto Panatom to get him that first kill. But, I mean, other than that play, we've really not seen much. We've seen the dropped Fenrir combo with it. We've seen him getting solo. We've seen him picked in the jungle. So far, I've not really seen too much from this Raw to really appreciate what it's bringing to these fights. Yes, it's bringing a little bit of sustain, allowing you to kind of match the Yamoja sustain, but when you're walking to these objectives, you really think Raw is one of the best gods for these objectives because he allows really good secure, he allows good sustain, he has decent damage with the change to Raw 2, but we're just not really seeing it. And I don't know if it's maybe a little bit of a nerves thing, because Jorby, if you win this set, you're making it to Vegas, or you're making it to the land, so this is an important set. And it so far seems like maybe Globe's not playing as well as you'd expect him to play, because when I think of this team, I really do think Globe is one of their, you know, not necessarily best players, but one of their most important. And so far, he's had a slow start.
It kind of comes down to the P's and B's again, right? As Death Gaze, I believe Pyromancer went to Food Drive. I didn't see that gold pop up on Paul's perspective. Despite the Death Gaze being activated there. And immediately, Food Drive are going to move on to this Fire Giant. Solo or Troll will get right in the middle of it. Shield active. Drops the cage as well. Wants to make sure. Hops over. He's silent on the Storm Call. Rivers rebuke to make sure there's no escape on the other side. Cowabunga come right through on the airstrike as well. Yarkor doing a lot of damage. But Globe finds Solo or Troll. Aurora goes down as well to Valo. Now, Yarkor's in some trouble. On the other side, Paul barely left. They're getting eliminated. Panatom takes down Globe. Panatom almost got Tagveer, but Valo cleans up Paul. And, well, what do you know? Food Drive for Globe. Come away with the team fight. Come away with the Fire Giant. What a win.
What a massive, massive win there by Food Drive for Globe. And that's just off of Panatom appearing in left lane. It's just a call to let's 50-50 this. We have the damage to do that. And boy, did they have the damage to do that. That's the Raw that I wanted to see. That was the Globe I wanted to see. He really did a lot in that team fight. Really good positioning, really good damage. The shred was really good. And how he placed the heal to kind of allow his teams to play around that in the middle of the Odin diving. I think Globe, like, that's the Globe I expected to see. And that was also just a really good team fight overall by Food Drive for Globe. They really played that fight very well. They get the Fire Giant now. And now you've kind of opened up an opportunity to push your lead immensely, because you have this really good sieging comp. You have really good zoning potential with this Chalk. You have good trading potential because you have a sustained character in Raw. And you have all-in potential because you have the scary Raw ultimate where you hit one person in a late game fight, whether it's Jingwei, whether it's Panatom, whether it's Paul, that is a person that will die if they walk up anymore, so they will have to back up. So now I want to see Food Drive kind of push their lead at this point. They have now just gotten their resets off, so now they are strong. But now we should look to see them starting to push down left, get that tier 1, tier 2, push down middle, get that tier 2. But they are just a little too slow right now. They're going for this Naga, and this entire time, Cowabunga is now pushed down right the entire wave. They defended a middle wave. So now this is them on the back foot, them getting out pushed because they're just a little too slow.
Well, that seems, well, they're slowly moving that way. Actually, they're not moving that way at all. You have one backing. Karmic's pushing mid as well. So the tier 1 on the right side, free for Yarkor. They're just continuing to push. Did have the back from Valo, or we'll have to hold that. Gold Fury on the other side. But with a tier 2, I mean, that's a worthy trade if you can force it. It looks like they see Karmic. They might want to go for... Actually, they don't even know Karmic's there. I thought maybe they had an idea of where he was, but I saw one backing. And the rest of Cowabunga will move down. So the Gold Fury falls to Food Drive for Globe. And it's kind of insane to see 2 of those Gold Furies on Cowabunga. 1 on Food Drive, but you see almost a 5K lead here for Food Drive for Globe. And Cowabunga had a lead not that long ago. Like, Food Drive just took over this game a couple of minutes ago, and that Fire Giant just shows you how big getting that was for this team's confidence and really for this team's ability to actually push Cowabunga to the brink here in game 1.
And with how much farm Karmic actually ended up getting there after that Fire Giant also. He is now level 20. Solo Troll's level 17 because he died nearly instantly in that Fire Giant defense. But it still seems like Food Drive for Globe isn't too interested in pushing their lead, at least rather quickly. They're playing very slow. They have this big advantage. They have level 20s, but they're getting the tier 2 or the tier 1 in left. They're finally getting this tier 2 in middle, but I mean, you compare it to what Cowabunga got. Cowabunga got that tier 1 in right, so they're getting a little bit of farm there also. It just seems like there's safe, and there's like a smart safe, and then there's a safe where we're playing too slow. I think this is Food Drive for Globe playing a little bit too slow and not trying to get these towers off the map. I don't expect them to go for a Phoenix, but these towers should be wiped, and you should be back ready for this next Fire Giant, and then that's when you put the game away.
Tier 2 on the right, or on the left side, depending on what you're looking. If you're on Chaos side, definitely right side will fall. And yeah, this is getting a little harder for Cowabunga. It's such a big moment for Food Drive for Globe. You talk about Cowabunga, like this would be like Team Risk falling this far on the other side at EMEA, right? I mean, winning game 1 here for Food Drive for Globe, in position to make land in the upper bracket. Granted, they haven't won yet. They can absolutely throw this game at any point. These next few team fights are certainly going to be critical, but you love the way Food Drive for Globe have been able to recover at several points in the early game where it looked like they lost it. You talked about it earlier, you know, Happen, his early advantage kind of wanes. Cowabunga got that Gold Fury. They got almost a 3K lead at one point, and you thought, okay, here we go, Cowabunga going to take control of the game, but then that Fire Giant happens, and a lot of these little fights start happening. Aurora gets forced out. Solo or Troll can't do much when it comes to that fight, and they're going to start forcing this fight around the right side of the jungle again. Ragnarok not going to find the bite time just a little too awkwardly. But now Food Drive for Globe, I mean, this is your chance. You said that, you know, you're playing a little slow. They got to kick up the pace here. Cowabunga, the longer you let them lurk around, the longer you let them level up, they might steal the game away from you. Everyone's sitting back as Fire Giant has respawned. Solo or Troll looking for the spear stun, finds nobody. Everyone just picking their moments, waiting to see if anyone overextends. Yarkor pushing up on the tower, seeing if he can expose somebody. Panatom also will be pushing up there, and Karmic will use that axe to stay into safety. But you see Cowabunga, they want to keep pushing it. Solo or Troll finds the stun, finds the Ring of Spears as well. Shell, though, is going to protect everybody. And that's what makes Shell so powerful to avoid Solo or Troll. On the other side, though, Karmic finds a lot of silence on the Storm Call. Death Gaze forced out. And Globe actually sniped Paul out of the arena. Well, Death Gaze for you. And Happen jumps down. Valo gets the kill on Yarkor. Food Drive for Globe. They're not going to keep everybody alive. In fact, Globe's going to find another kill on Aurora. And another huge team fight win here for Food Drive for Globe. Cowabunga on the ropes.
And with that, they have 3 dead right now, and they're not really looking to do anything. I guess they're just waiting for Happen to come back. They don't really know where both Solo and Panatom are. They're a little worried about it, but now they're going to be healing up, pulling this Fire Giant, and it's most likely going to be a give by Cowabunga. And that fight is just 100% Karmic saying, we have given up too much space. I am going in. Come with me, Valo. And then as soon as Anubis goes into that ultimate, Globe has a free ult onto him, and they timed it perfectly. And that's the type of comp that Food Drive has drafted, and we need to see them doing that because they don't really have a great front-to-back comp. They don't really have any CC to actually kill that person who's ever getting CC'd, because it's really just Happen's ult, who, if you do pick somebody up, it's gonna get cleansed. So you don't have that opportunity. You're gonna have to dive Paul, you're gonna have to dive Yarkor, and you're gonna have to hope Globe finds an ult onto somebody. But I will say, the longer this game goes on, Chalk becomes more and more powerful. This is not a character similar in Smite 1 where once the game goes late, he's not doing damage, he's very easy to kill, and he's useless. No, this is a character who is very hard to kill because of all this movement. His low cooldowns allow him to harass you, and he's got decent all-in damage potential where if he hits you with a couple abilities, Global will kill you and will execute you. So you have to be very careful whenever you put your feet in the ground if you're Paul, because you will be getting ulted by Globe as soon as it happens.
This is getting scary for Cowabunga. They may be put on notice here in the best of 3 to qualify for LAN in the first ever Smite 2 Founders Series tournament. It was a very easy Swiss stage for them, getting through with very little issue, 3-0 out of Swiss into the playoff bracket, and cleanly working their way through the upper bracket of this stage in the Founders Series. But they meet Food Drive for Globe, who are playing like they want to go to LAN. An interesting comp to start with that Fenrir Zeus duo lane, but overall it has started to really work out. Karmic getting involved. You talk about Valo as well. I mean, Food Drive for Globe are doing almost everything right here, despite losing 3 of the 4 Gold Furies. You still have almost a 10k gold lead. The 3 Gold Furies were just Cowabunga not making this lead look worse than it would have been otherwise. But I mean, you said it as well. Everyone's getting towards that late game. That Chalk is going to be doing a lot more here near the end. Solo or Troll, as the push on the Odin, you want this Odin to be able to create that havoc, to be that engagement for the team, but instead he's getting engaged on, forced to use Talisman to beat down to the Ragnarok, and everyone getting pushed back a little bit. Solo Troll turns right back around, stuns out happen, and everyone will sit back. No one can aggress just yet. Not bad there for Solo or Troll, holding the initial Phoenix push down for everyone else to rotate through. But still, you have the disadvantage as Karmic comes in for the Storm Call, Searing Pain combination, forcing one out already. Aurora has to stick in there as long as possible, but the Phoenix should fall, or will it? Rivers Rebuke will keep them out. Solo or Troll's right back in it, has the Spear stun, and nothing there on the up-down either. They're being held for now. This Phoenix barely holding on to its life, and there's a fight also happening above where Panatom is actually having Paul help him out with Valo. All of a sudden, Death Gauge from behind. Solo or Troll gonna get aggressive as well. Cowabunga pushing their advantage, or is it what happened is low surviving? Solo or Troll hopes to get the kill. Yarkor also low. Tegvir on the backside got Paul. And a fight down to the last gods happened. Got Yarkor. Karmic got Solo or Troll to the end here. Cowabunga still staying alive. Happen goes down. Has the health as well, but Karmic is beefy. Will sit right underneath that Phoenix. Tegvir is alive as well. It'll be too difficult. Too much. There's nothing Aurora can do. They get boxed out, zoned out by Karmic, and even killing Panatom on it. Karmic is running absolutely riot here on Cowabunga, keeping them down, and even just gonna go straight for the win here on the Titan with Tegvir, popping out that damage. What's Aurora supposed to do? Sit there and body block. Good luck, Lightning Storm's available. Lightning Storm wins you game 1.
What an incredible late game siege there by Food Drive for Globe. This Chalk was unkillable. He was just walking it down. There was no threat onto him. And the combination of this Chalk with that ultimate and then also this Raw, it really felt like Paul was unable to do anything. Every time he was getting dove, he was getting pressured too much and he was just dying in most fights. And then we saw how much potential that Zeus build had in the late game. So much damage. You try to dive him, he'll just kill you on the dive. It was a nice, very well thought out, very nice game plan by Food Drive for Globe, and they executed it very, very well. And I have to shout out Happen. Happen on this Fenrir was phenomenal. That is a god where something has to change because he was doing exactly what he needed to do every time.
Food Drive for Globe could pull off the upset here and qualify for LAN in the upper bracket. Will they send Cowabunga to lowers to play Borscht? Find out after the break.
Story. Tiny little sour patch acting salty, flows on point like gourmet. Need a Michelin star like always, like conference call on 4 ways. Man thinks this life is a role play, so they hear about the family drama. There's coldness there, there's karma. There's heat, there's flames, there's lava. Volcanic, what can we do? It gets manic. I know what got powers.
And then I said, that's not Bacchus, that's Bilson's mother. That one always makes me laugh. But enough about my weekend. Hey, Goremizer, what's new with you?
Just picked up my SMITE 2 Founders Edition.
Very nice.
Purchased it on my preferred gaming platform just yesterday.
Nice skin.
It's Cacodemon Ymir. It comes with all Smite 2 gods. Forever.
That's very cool, Gormizer, but that's nothing. Look at this. Nightstalker Neath and Ascension passes for 11 Alpha Launch gods. What do you think?
Geez, that is really super. How'd a nitwit like you get so tasteful?
Can't believe that Dandy prefers Chelly's Founders Edition to mine.
Very nice. Impressive. Let's see J-Max Founder Edition.
Look at that avatar, badge and title. The tasteful thickness of Tier 5 Fallen Zeusia. Oh my god, it even comes with Ascension passes for all 23 Alpha gods.
Don't be like this psycho and upgrade your Founders Edition, so you don't miss out on Nightstalker Neath, Tier 5 Fallen Zeus, and Ascension passes for the first 23 gods. Upgrade today.
That's right, you can go to smite2.com right now and upgrade or purchase your Founders Edition, whichever one you need to do. I guess that's technically an upgrade from nothing to the right choice, and you need to do it right now. I'll find you. But yeah, no, it comes with so much, man. It really is. You know, we talk about it, and I mentioned this, but just the base. If you just look at the base, you can ignore everything except the second line. All Smite 2 Gods Forever are included. That's so crazy, and I use this every time, but in the year, at the beginning, I think it was like 2013, like February or March, somewhere around there, I bought the God Pack, which was a $30 all Smite 1 Gods Forever. I spent that money in early 2013 when there were like 23 gods in the game, and I have not spent. Well, that's not true. I have definitely spent money on Smite since then. Hold on, let me be clear. I have definitely spent money on Smite since then. But I never had to buy a god. I never had to worry. When the new gods were coming out, I never had to think, oh man, I hope I've saved up maybe enough favor to unlock them, or do I have enough to put gems together for this to be able to get them. I just had them. And this was actually really big because I remember I was getting really big into it when ESET came out. I didn't have to think twice about it. I just got to play ESET. When I got bored after like 7 months of playing Hebo straight and finally decided, you know what, I want to try some of these other gods, and I open twitch.tv Smite game and I see Hello Kelly Link playing Ymir. I go, that guy looks fun. I just got to play him. You have the opportunity to do that right now. You can get it. I mean, there's already more gods in the game than there were when I bought mine those years ago. So make sure that you're getting it's such a good value. And of course, if you want those extra things, like it really is legitimately the Ascension passes themselves, like they're crazy worthwhile because you get diamonds from those things. Yep. Like so you spend a little more now, but it pays off for you in the long run. By the time you pick it up, it's so worthwhile. And you want to make sure that you get yours today, whether you are getting the base edition or finding your first edition, or if you want to upgrade yours to the next level. Just make sure that you go to smite2.com and get it done. And speaking of get it done, J-Mac, their one is in a different place than I thought that one would be. Where is it? Right there. That of all expectations, was supposed to be up a little bit, but no. Cowabunga, Food Drive for Globe, I mean, this was a close, competitive game, but you see in a very rare sight, Cowabunga on the back foot for a lot of the last few minutes.
And I think a lot of it really comes down to how Tegvir is positioning himself in these team fights and how much effort is put into trying to constantly kill this Zeus, but he's being kept alive. Globe is either missing a snipe or dying early in these team fights. It's like, okay, we lost our raw sustain. Where's our damage? It's from the Zeus. It's from Tegvir in this dual lane. Playing Zeus, not like we've been seeing. We've been seeing a lot of the full intelligence. I'm going to snap my fingers and everybody's dead Zeus, but instead that snap my finger is to set up for 6 more in-hands to then kill you from the damage of that alone. The way that Tegvir has played this pick is different than we've been seeing Zeus, and specifically the second item in his slot. The Broggy's Harp, we've been seeing that. The Bracer, we've been seeing that. No big deal. Shifter's Shield is not a traditional item for like anybody, but the fact that not only did we see 2 of them, we see one of them on your damage carry. Your full ADC Zeus is picking up Shifter Shield, and it's just such a unique item to slot in here because it means that you're going to have a little bit of damage, but when you start falling low, you get a little bit tankier, and it's what allows Tegvir, specifically in the very last team fight, that last siege on the Phoenix, what allows Tegvir to live for so damn long with Karmic is because Karmic is standing by him, soaking up in hands, while Tegvir is just a little bit tankier for whatever it does break through, and the two of them alone quite legitimately power through a team fight 4v5 and basically essentially by themselves at the end in a 2v4 for a huge portion of it. Tegvir lived for way too long, and I have to attribute it to the build that he had went through. The Shifter Shield worked out fantastically. As Inbound had mentioned, Karmic on the Chalk only gets more powerful the game goes on because the sustain is more potent, his tankiness is more relevant, and his damage is just so much higher. If we look at Chalk back in Smite 1, Chalk does like nothing. You get him 15 minutes in, and if you're not winning, you lost because that Chalk is not a factor. In Smite 2, it is a completely different story for Chalk, where his early game is going to be okay, but his late game, he hits hard, he's tanky, he sustains a ton. There's got to be an answer to that in game number 2, and it's part of why Food Drive for Globe has been such a strong team. It's just because they're not doing the normal stuff. You know, Zeus ADC, we've seen a Zeus ADC here and there, but like Zeus ADC plus Ama jungle, plus this Zeus ADC is doing absolutely weird stuff. Oh, we also throw a Chalk in the solo lane. Like, what is our team composition? Food Drive for Globe are good for throwing wrenches into the gears and seeing what eventually breaks the machine. And so far, it works out for him in game 1.
And it just makes this incredibly exciting because I didn't think we'd get to a point where Cowabunga might get knocked down to the lower bracket. We'll have to see if it happens. All of it starts in picks and bans. We'll see how things swap up. Cowabunga, first pick. I'm also really interested because I didn't look at it. I wish I had. I went to the back and we were talking about social stuff. That's what happened at the very beginning of that game. I wish I had seen what the prediction level was. I want to know how many people lost a lot of points there. And maybe I will feel just a smidge guilty
Might be able to find
of misleading. Yeah, you might be able. You can look it up while I go through and mention Amaterasu gets banned out immediately by Cowabunga. That face and that noise makes me concerned.
So a total of about 1.8 million channel points were put into the pool, and 88% of that was to Cowabunga.
Ooh.
11 people just got a pretty hefty payout of around, yeah, 2 million almost.
Hey, congrats to y'all. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is a wild margin for them to get that. But yeah, 88% voted for Cowabunga in game 1, so the 12%ers won out on a almost 2 million channel point payout.
I will admit, I think it was either last week or 2 weeks ago, there was a matchup that I was like, this is very one-sided, and it was like 90-10 or something like that. And so I put like 100, because I watch a lot of Smite games, as it turns out. So I put like 100,000 on the losing team. All of it's gone. So I'm recovering from that as it stands. But I guess congrats to those of you who had faith in Food Drive. Maybe it'll pay off again. Maybe it won't, J-Mac, because after the Ama ban, after the Kern ban, Sobek came first and foremost. And something you were mentioning last time, the Chalk first, if Raw gets locked in second, something you had talked about a lot, was the anti-heal that he's able to bring to the table. Even without the Raw, I think it's worth mentioning the anti-heal he brings to the table, and the ability to maybe close gap between him and an immobile god like Zeus.
And Sobek is a pick that fits for Aurora so well. In fact, it's one of my favorite joke moments that happened during the Smite World Championships when Aurora is literally telling his team, shut up guys, I have to find the correct Sobek skin or we're going to lose this game, because he's played not only that much Sobek, but got so used to that one in particular style of Sobek that anything else just feels off. So him going back to the Sobek again gives me a lot of confidence in him as a player, and then giving the Raw to them takes some of that level of team sustain away from Food Drive. They need to get this one off of Globe in the mid lane. It took Globe a little while to heat up, to get the wheels turning, but once he did, I mean, Globe is on point. Snipe after snipe, hit its Paul after after Paul after Paul, and that was the target for Globe, was Paul. I don't care about anybody else. The Anubis must die. Now it's going to be maybe a bit flipped here, because we do see the Zeus and the Hecate locked in together, which means throw Zeus over in the duo lane, put Hecate in that mid lane for Globe. While it's similar levels of range, you have a lot more control now with this Hecate, which is something that Anubis, who's generally a little bit of a slower moving god, first using the first ability, or in quite literally standing in place, you've taken that kind of big burst sniper style of damage away from Globe by bringing the Raw over there. Looking holistically at this team composition, it still now does make more sense as to what Food Drive for Globe is doing, because their composition is just very similar to what they had already drafted in the previous one. All you're really doing here is you're just slotting out the Raw for Hecate.
Well, lightning struck once, pun kind of intended. It was Zeus. That's the joke. Really, really good for Food Drive for Globe. Can they do it again, or will Cowabunga push us to Game 3? The only way to find out is to jump into game now with the casters.
One more game to go for Food Drive for Globe. Jorby and Inbound taking you through the action. And, well, last time we saw Food Drive for Globe in a real back and forth game number 1. Inbound, Cowabunga fought back a few times, but then as soon as Food Drive got one fire giant, Cowabunga never found a way back into the game. That Zeus ADC proved to be very helpful for them, but now a bit of a different comp this time for Cowabunga. They're putting Ra in the solo lane against the Chalk. They still have the Anubis as well in mid for Paul, which we did see him get some value out of, but they're going to be facing this this Fenrir Zeus duo lane again.
Yeah, and I kind of like the Cowabunga switch up. My only problem is now we've seen Ra. This is the third time just today. We haven't seen him play around the Ra. They leave the Ra on an island, and then if the other team plays correctly to just kind of slow that Ra down, a gank or two here. I think Scream actually did it really well, where he kind of sat on the Ra and made his job just impossible. If that happens, the Ra looks worse. The Ra is a god who needs to get out to a good lead. He needs to be helped a little bit, or at least matched if the enemy jungler is playing to your side. I think if Valo does that, if he decides to shut down this Ra, I think this is going to be a very good chance for Food Drive for Globe to go up 2-0. My only issue is Cowabunga's late game does seem a lot stronger. I like Aurora on this Sobek into the comp that Food Drive for Globe has drafted. If you ever hit a pluck onto the Zeus, he should just die in most fights. He's opted for this beads, so if he does get, ulted by Panatom, there's going to be a lot of damage. If Paul ever hits him with an ultimate, he'll just get one shot. Same thing with Solar Troll. There's a lot of damage that will be happening there. I think it's just an overall much better comp, and Aurora invading this purple buff with TR core, giving up the purple buff. This is something that they misplayed last game, and they've already improved upon it. Happen goes for the invade onto your purple buff, so you walk at the enemy's purple buff, and this entire time also, the speed buff is available for the invade for Aurora, and that's where he opts to go. So this is just much better early game already by Cowabunga. They've not died one, and they've traded purple buffs too.
It does leave a little bit of exposure onto Yarkor at level 1, but he's wisely sticking right on that tower line, and they eventually are going to turn onto Aurora here, but Aurora should be okay for it. He actually couldn't confirm that purple buff on the duo side, so Food Drive get an easy take there. But like you said, no deaths. Yarkor played that minute pretty well as well. Very easy to die quickly to happen there, especially with how we saw the first 5 minutes went for him on the Fenrir support. And you talk about the Raw solo. Do they play around it? Or do you see the opposite happen like we saw last time, or like we're seeing right now? Food Drive paying a little bit more early attention here to solo or troll. Gotta find a way to keep solo or troll ahead. Otherwise, you may have some issues if you are Food Drive. I do like that Cowabunga, kind of switch up some of the picks a little bit. They did, obviously, Sobek got banned last time. So Aurora couldn't go there, went Yamoja instead, but I really do love the Sobek in that duo lane, especially with a Jing Wei. You just get so much free damage out with a pluck with very little commit needed from your Jing Wei on that, so she gets to save all of her utility to escape. And we always talk about how hard Jing Wei is to lock down, but we are seeing a little bit of clear actually going solo or troll's way, but he's sitting back. He's a little afraid of what may be lurking on the side after that early attention that was paid over here to the solo lane.
And this is how you want the Ra to feel. You do not want him being able to walk into melee range and just spam his twos and heal his wave. And this is what needs to happen. And Globe already coming back for this just to try to make Solo or Troll as uncomfortable as possible. This is not again, you don't have to kill the Ra. You just have to make it so his job is harder. His job is to just shove the wave under, try to make you lose as much gold as possible. That is something that he's not able to do because Valo's spending so much time over here. With that happening though, Panatom's got to make a play somewhere, kind of. He's either got to look for something in middle, and that's where it looks like to be looking at Globe, but no kill potential there really with Globe playing so far back. But the junglers are the most important gods in the early game. That is always a thing. They're looking for this plan to Solo or Troll again. Does juke out that stun, but this is still making him uncomfortable. Valo's always over here, Solo. You can't walk up. You always have to be worried, and I like that. And if you just heard that, Paul gets his blink forced out by the Hecate ult. That's a good play in mid. Now this is an Anubis you can also try to kill if you're Valo.
Valo will be taking that red buff and no doubt looking towards that angle. But you see Cowabunga actually pushing pretty deep onto the Hecate, but going over that left jungle as well. Everyone kind of under tower, a little safe. Panatom wants to play ball. They'll take the jungle camps instead. The benefit of that pressure and pushing your opponents under the tower is you get to take all of their jungle. Be as productive on that farm as you can in these early minutes if you can't find a kill. And that's what they're doing here early on. Nobody around as looks like Chalk going for their buffs will allow Solo or Troll to push up a little bit farther. So we're bit of a standoff. You're not seeing the same aggression here from Happen. And I think that's the Sobek effect, right? Just all of that peel. He has the ability to cancel out that brutalize, which is a lot of that early game potential from Happen. So it makes it a lot harder to play around when Aurora is just kind of saving everything for whenever Happen jumps in. He doesn't really have to do much on the Sobek because Happen is the one who has to engage. He has to be the one to get aggressive. So Aurora can just sit back and wait and be like, go ahead, do it. It's such a great anti-aggressive comp over in that duo lane, and I think it makes it really hard for Food Drive to make this Fenrir Zeus combo work.
And with the losing duo lane that happened in Tegvir have this game, they've been able to get invaded. Aurora and Yarkor and Paul and Panatom have been getting invaded. They've not gotten any kills, and this has been a really slow-paced game, but just farming advantage so far by Cowabunga has put them in a lead. Valo's trying to make Solo or Troll uncomfortable, and he is, but he's also taking some farm away from Karma. Valo's also not spending a ton of time farming, so he's falling behind. And the entire time, every lane is kind of just happy farming for Cowabunga. Solo's standing under tower, clearing the wave as it gets there. The duo lane, mostly Jingwei is just farming whatever, comes her way, and then they're getting the invades on left side. We're seeing this dynamic of, again, duo lane, Aurora and Yarkor, Cowabunga, they're playing towards the duo lane side of things. The Karmic Valo side playing towards Solo side, trying to get invades over there, and it's gotten a pretty nice lead for Cowabunga.
Yeah, Cowabunga have been cruising through this, and I mean, game one, it was not this kind of story at all. Food Drive, they got an early first blood with Tegvir, and it was like trades back and forth. Cowabunga won an early Gold Fury and actually got a lead, and then Food Drive had to come back. And we're going to take a quick pause as Cowabunga were figuring things out here in the early game, and like you said, winning that duo side, having better rotations, Solo or Troll playing a little scared with how much attention the Odin has been giving over on that side, but he just got Gladiator's Shield online. And I mean, look, you're a 1v2 with a Chalk and an Odin at level 7 Ra, you're really not that afraid. Once Gladiator's Shield is online, you can tank a lot more of it. You can just dish out so much damage because of the cooldowns with Sands of Time as your starter. So things are okay over there for Solo or Troll. He hasn't had to do too much in this early game because everything else is going so well on the map for Cowabunga. So we'll see how it goes here for Food Drive.
Yeah, and I think I've liked how Cowabunga has decided to play this. I've been saying a lot, you got to play through the Raw, you got to get him into a good spot, but Solo is playing this laning phase to live, and he's playing it exceptionally well in that regard. He's staying even in XP, staying even in gold. This is now the time where he can start to, as you said, I mean, he's not scared of the 2v1 anymore. He can fight back. He's got the damage to clear. Now that he's got that first defensive item online, he can maybe start to look to play a little bit more aggressive. He can look to ward a little bit deeper. Maybe have Panatom play to that side of the map, because if there is a 2v2 over there, at this point currently, the raw Loki will just destroy that 2v2. So there's a worry a little bit that Valo's kind of given up a little bit of farm to try to kill the raw, and there was no death because your duo side of the map, this Zeus, this Fenrir, they've not really gotten much help. Valo's visited, but there's not been ganks. They've been losing speed buffs. They've been losing a couple purple buffs, and they've not really gotten too much. I almost think Valo makes Solo uncomfortable, that Solo can't play too aggressive, but it's not like a big disadvantage that Solo's kind of succumbed to. He's in a fine spot, and Valo's almost thrown his entire game. This is an Odin who's going to be very far behind. Eventually he'll be fine where he's got, 3 items. He's got the talisman, he's got the glad shield where he'll do a little bit of damage and he'll also be pretty useful. But at this current moment, he's not really killing anyone and he's not going to be very tanky. That's a little bit of my worry with this Odin.
Yeah, I think that's Panatom hasn't even shown any kind of rotation over to Solo yet. So, as soon as Karmic comes forward a little bit more, maybe you see him shade a little bit more to that side. But Panatom has kind of had his attention focused on the mid lane, which we see is more of a toss-up. The Hecate has actually gotten a little bit of leeway on the Anubis. Not much. I mean, they're still even, but able to force Anubis's little utility that he has out and even getting like the out clears at times. So things are still kind of at that tipping point where, mid lane is probably the only thing really going well so far for Food Drive, and Cowabunga kind of winning everywhere else. But Panatom has to get involved here at some point. This Loki needs to be online, needs to be doing damage, needs to be finding early kills. Otherwise, Cowabunga are just going to farm their way to a 5k gold lead. So we need to see some action from that jungler if you're a Food Drive fan or you got your channel points on Food Drive, as we are back with the match and underway. And like we said, only a 1k gold lead. It's not a lot, but as you watch the ebb and flow, you kind of get an idea of how some of these fights have gone. And, well, Velo will drop the Ring of Spears, which will trap both Solar Troll and Panatom, won't allow them to aggress at all. That's the first time Panatom has taken a look. They're not done fighting over here, though, as Panatom will just straight up aggress through the grass. You get the Searing Pain as well on top of the beam, almost finding the kill. And that is an ugly amount of damage done on Food Drive's side. They get forced out.
And I actually think that was a bit of a misplay by Solo and Panatom. I think they easily could have killed Valo. Valo blinks early, and it seems like they both blinked late, and they blinked into the same spot, so they weren't able to pick up that kill. So a tough play there. I think there should have been a first blood. Aurora gets the invade on left side, gets that speed buff also, and that's with only 2 people going there. The Jingwei didn't even walk there, and they're still going to these speed buffs because of the damage, and they really don't have any threat onto this Sobek. If Zeus is there, he's got this magical defense from the talisman to live that, and if Odin's there, there's really not much damage from the Odin. So Aurora is almost unkillable even at 7 minutes into this game with just 1 item, just because of the enemy team's comp and what he's playing.
Aurora gets the pluck on Happen, forces the Ragnarok, grabs the Jingwei, and Yarkor says, okay, cool. Thanks, man. See you later. This is our lane. Not the same success that Happen had earlier on. Absolutely getting stuffed a little bit here in the duo lane.
As this Gold Fury is up. That's the thing that I have my eye on, because if Cowabunga gets a Gold Fury and gets first blood, like this is an all natural lead. This is just from farming almost up to about 2k. If they get a Gold Fury, if they get a first blood, we could be at 4,000, 5,000 by the 10-minute mark, Jorby. This is a game that could be exploded any minute by Cowabunga. And Food Drive for Globe doesn't have that same opportunity. The best thing they can do is make the game even. And as I'm saying that, Gold Fury's pulled.
And I mean, you saw Happen go and try to gank Paul there. And I can't help but think about the Ragnarok over in duo. With that being on cooldown, it was an opportunity where you could have grabbed Paul, had him under tower, and then maybe you get that first blood. Instead, no first blood, and Cowabunga get that free first Gold Fury. Like you said, it is pure farming here. Living soil for Cowabunga, and everything's growing to bountiful amounts for them here. The fact that they have this much of a lead with no kills, even before that Gold Fury, as you were stating before. But you look at the XP levels, right, Happen starting to fall behind. Fenrir always ends up being behind just by nature of how Fenrir support is played. He was behind in levels for most of the game last game. But this Jingwei is ahead now of Tagveer, who has not had the imposition that he had last time. Nice spin move to get rid of the Brutalize, and I mean, Happen not doing much for it. There was some support behind for Food Drive, but there was nowhere for them to really get in, as that Sobek really is a problem. Why he gets so much attention in the banning phase of these games. Meanwhile, look at what Solo Troll's doing over here to Karmic in the solo lane. With no one to support Karmic, he's having some trouble over there. Paul through the grass, got the wrap, has the grasping hands, ult forced out, and yeah, he says, no way, not dealing with that, Anubis.
The ultimate, actually not even traded, just ultimate forced out by the Hecate. And also something that I've noticed is the Odin build is he starts with this pendulum blade, which is a super expensive item that gives you a little bit of strength, a little bit of cooldown, and a passive that allows you to reset your cooldowns. The issue with that is it's very expensive and he's already behind. So you're investing this little amount of gold that you have into an item that's very expensive that really doesn't give you too much in terms of kill potential, and it doesn't give you too much in terms of getting to more utility. I think it's an awkward first item, especially because if you just go like a cooldown item, if you just go the Jotun's equivalent, or if you go Tekokage, it gives you a little bit of cooldown. It's cheaper. Investing into an expensive item like this is always risky because now your second item is so delayed.
And Karmic in some trouble here on a 1v2. Panatom, solo or troll, nice beam. A little bit of support coming. It's a 2v2 and got wrapped by Paul. Storm Call to help get the silence so they can get out. That was a savior maneuver, and Valo got saved. Make no mistake about it. Barely gets out with his life.
And that's another blink trade by Paul and Valo. Valo's been using this blink defensively the entire time. There's just nothing being played by Food Drive. They're not making plays. And it seems like both teams are pretty happy with how the game is going in terms of not trying to do anything, because Food Drive isn't trying to really execute something. They're not playing around getting a beads down and then punishing said character. I mean, Valo's kind of rotating around, but he's not really looking for ganks. It's all around awkward by Food Drive for Globe, and they're almost getting, I mean, it hasn't happened yet. They're still farming okay, but they've really been forced into their own jungle and playing defensively and just try to get their own buffs, and it's not, you know, allowing them to really do anything. Valo is tracked wherever he is. He's not really able to make plays. Happen at this point really can't kill anyone. His ultimate is rather useless. The only opportunity right now is to try to kill Paul before this blink is back up. So you have 3 minutes on that. If you don't kill Paul, I don't really know where Food Drive for Globe is going to be getting these kills.
No one's really been able to do anything. I guess we hopped across the pond, or I guess we never left the other side of the pond. Yesterday we had EMEA. I think we went, 14 minutes without a kill yesterday? This game, getting close to that mark. But Tegvir, he might be first-blooded if he's not careful. He's forced to ult defensively. Everything is being used defensively for Food Drive. The blinks, the ults, anything that they have that should be aggressing, that should be dealing damage, that should be pressing an advantage, they're using just to escape. And Cowabunga continue to slowly build this lead, almost 3K up now on Food Drive for Globe. Slowly, we will see a kill, but it may be because they just get too farmed, too fed. Ragnarok will grab a Roar, but if you were going to have anyone get grabbed, if you're Cowabunga, you're happy it's a Roar. He's starting to lose a little bit of health, but Tegvir has to clear that wave, prevents him from actually moving forward and putting any kind of pressure there on Cowabunga.
And Aurora just holds the purification because he knows there's no threat from those two. There's just not enough damage from Tegvir with this more defensive hybrid build. And you know you're not dying to the Fenrir's damage, so it's just a good purification hold by the Sobek, because now if another fight happens, if Paul does get grabbed, you can use it for Paul. But this game just doesn't feel like Food Drive for Globe really even has any life in it. It feels like plays that they make are just kind of pointless and they're not really leading to anything, and then Cowabunga is just kind of winning everything. Like Solo Troll's level 13, he is down a level, but he's going to be just as effective at this point. And then you have a fed Anubis, you have a fed Loki, you've got a fed Sobek, and then your Jingwei is farming to the late game. Like, this game is perfectly going how Cowabunga wants it to do. They can play around objectives with this Raw, because that's what Raw is really good at. I don't know, it's just a lot of it kind of comes back to Valo threw his game a lot to try to put the Raw behind. They put the Raw behind a tiny bit, but it's not like they've killed him and stopped him from farming. There's just a slight XP lead. I mean, 3,300 XP, 3,400 gold difference. This is still just from farming. This is one Gold Fury in farming. They've not really killed anyone. There's still that first gold XP, first kill gold available for Cowabunga. There's still another Gold Fury to go to. It's just, it just feels doomed already, and there's not even been a kill, Jorby. I don't know if it's just something feels off with Food Drive for this game, but this Odin is now going into this cloak also, which just doesn't make any sense. I don't get it.
Where's the gladiator shield, man? Or I mean, yeah, it's a weird. Or like you said, the Jotun's yeah, like anything to give you the advantage that, like, you need this Odin to be your front line, right? You want to be able to jump in to sustain a little bit and help dictate and facilitate a fight. But like you said, going into the pendulum, sure, you get a ton of strength, but and the cloak, I mean, yeah, whatever, but that's not getting your protections in a place where you're really doing a lot. Your bird bomb is not nearly as effective. So like, you're not really playing into your kit too well. So maybe I am curious what the idea is behind Pendulum. It's not an item we really see built much at all. Even in the late game, you talk about it being expensive. Usually other items are favored in general, so it just hasn't really worked out for them. And when Odin is not being the one displacing the team fights and dictating the pace of the game, you're gonna be having a bad time. Happen has the Ragnarok. This is not good. You need to get out of there. We'll get out of there. I think the Ragnarok was maybe just to make sure he can clear his retreat. However, there is no clearance at all. Yarkor lays the barriers down alongside Panatom. There was simply no getting out of that one. First blood, 15 minutes and 30 seconds into the game goes to Cowabunga.
Absolutely insane that that's our first blood, and it goes over to the Jingwei, who now gets an even bigger lead over the Zeus, and she's getting her late game kind of accelerated. This is such a good game by Cowabunga to show that they can win games and get leads with just farming. You think about Cowabunga, you think this team fights very well. They do that stuff really well. No, they also farm exceptionally well. They get the pyro over there. They force that fight over to gold. Karmic is rotated and also not farmed for now the past minute just to try to defend this gold fury. It just feels like it's falling apart for Food Drive for Globe, and it's not even like Cowabunga's taking fights and dominating them there. It's just they're out farming and they're out macroing and they're just outsmarting Food Drive for Globe. And it's so strange to see after that game one where Food Drive for Globe was the team that was the one outsmarting.
Solo Troll trying to steal that buff. You do not, though. Karmic does get it. Should also get that horn as well. Nope, just kidding. Solo Troll will poke it. And that's a tough battle over there, even though Karmic did have still does have a slight XP advantage. But I mean, you talked about it. They're happy to just keep on farming. They don't really care about that difference at all, because I mean, Ra's got Glad Shield, Shield of the Phoenix online, so you got those double prots. You're going to be healing off of every Divine Light 2. You got Talisman of Purification up, so you can escape any kind of nonsensical wrap that may come your way a little later. And things are looking really solid for the late game as Paul finds a wrap, finds Happen, who has to Ragnarok his way out. It didn't work last time, and it will work this. No, just kidding. Aurora got the tick damage on him, lurking in the waters. Panatom got another kill. Tegvir, we're going to have to escape as the Ring of Spears are dropped, but this is it's starting to look disastrous inbound for Food Drive for Globe. At some point you think, okay, maybe they can win a team fight here or there, but they lose a pick. Like Happens getting caught out now twice. 2 of these 3 deaths belong to him, and in situations that no one is able to follow up on anything. Now Karmic is just hoping for a lucky steal on this Fire Giant. Just kind of jumping around, waiting to see what might be available. It is taking a little bit of time for this Fire Giant help to drop. Panatom on the other side deletes Globe. No Hecate for this fight. Valo also getting harassed. Look how much damage is just being done. Absolutely no presence. He has to use the shield just to escape. And everyone forced out. They do unleash on the Fire Giant. Valo has another shield. Barely avoids Panatom. Barely avoids dying. Karmic also just getting absolutely harassed. Stormcall is only to escape. Uses the axe as well off of the silence. Not a bad play just to live. But if we're talking about plays just to live, you ain't winning this game. As Cowabunga win their fights, they push everybody back under the towers. Find the pick on the Globe. Not quite going to get a Fire Giant yet, but it feels like we're at the inevitable here inbound.
Yeah, and I agree 100%. I think this game is over unless we see massive misplays by Cowabunga or just really smart picks by Food Drive for Globe resulting in other things. Panatom looking for the pick onto Tegvir over here, setting up for the Yarkor kill, just going to be running him down with this Fatalis. Decent trades into Tegvir, wasting a little bit of time, but it will not matter. He will go down. And at this point, this game is over unless they misplay. What are we going to do next game? And I have to just go back to this Odin. I do not like this build at all. It is so expensive. It's not giving you value right away. It's like good late game value. If we're talking 40 minutes into the game and he's got these 2 items, I'm fine with it. But you are an ineffective jungler at this point. You don't do damage and you don't live anything. You don't have the utility of a purification. It is just an outright bad build, and I do not like it at all. But there's more issues than just this Odin. This Fenrir has not been able to get his job done. This Zeus has been unable to do anything. They've played too hard to the solo side of the map, and they got no value over there. At this point, Cowabunga is just going to be walking to objectives, playing around this raw sustain, playing around their objective damage, and unless an incredible steals happen, it will just be a wipe across the map for Cowabunga. I'd even be surprised at this point, Jorby, if one of them dies. That's how much I like their comp where it's at right now.
The closest we saw to a shutout was yesterday, in what was basically a JV shutout where a kill happened right at the Titan at the end of the game. May as well not have counted. How about the searing pain there from Solo or Troll? Yeah, good night to you. Paul cleans it up. And the fight around the Naga buff will force Valo to jump back, and you're just turning tail, and you've got no balance. Valo goes down. Paul gets another kill. This will surely be a Cowabunga Fire Giant into a Cowabunga win 20 minutes in. Fruit Drive did get a kill. They won't be completely shut down and shut out, but I mean, what good does that feel? It probably feels about exactly the same here for Globe and company. As good luck trying to steal this Fire Giant away. Cowabunga came back and do what great teams do, which is recognize the comp in front of them. All right. They're running back a lot of the same comp. It's going to be diving on the duo side. You know, Solo or Troll will give attention over there. Or not Solo or Troll, excuse me. You know, we'll just run Chalk back. He was so great late game, right? Happen, though, completely boxed out. They were like, okay, fine, we'll pick Sobek. All right, come at me. Come at me. We'll just farm. We won't fight you early game because we know we can't win early game. So what do Cowabunga do? They zone, they position, they bide their time, they farm, and we see what that does. When you pick your battles correctly, when you know when you have the advantage, when you know it's time to push on a fight, you do. Cowabunga do exactly that in this game. It is a stark difference from game number 1. They are truly suffocating Food Drive for Globe in this game. This tier 2 will likely fall. Karmic does get a little bit of the clear, but Solo or Troll can just sit right under this tower, just keep on popping it. Look at all the Shield of the Phoenix healing he gets on top of his 3. And it's just rough. Stormcall was only going to delay it, does absolutely nothing. They'll just keep fighting under here. They're not getting peeled off of it at all. On the other side, here you have the ult as well from Paul, and he's not taking any damage. Ragnarok to get him on the other side. Maybe they lock Paul down here. Solo or Troll goes to Searing Pain out. Tankmere finally gets another kill, but it doesn't really matter. They're still getting pushed back. Sure, you isolated one. Sure, you killed them, but pluck, dead. Solo or Troll will get the kill, and this tier 2 will fall.
And this is just, we have the lead. We're trying to push this lead as quick as possible so you can't get your items online. I think Paul's positioning was a little bad there. He walks up, puts a bunch of damage into Valo. Valo doesn't die, but he does take a lot of damage, and then they kill Paul not too long later. I think this is still just, it doesn't really matter. Paul's death doesn't really matter. This lead is so big. This Fire Giant power play that they have is being used still very well. I think something that I overlooked also and didn't place enough emphasis on also with this Anubis, there's no Raw to snipe him when he's getting dove. And I think that's made Paul feel a lot safer in most mid-game fights. Because when we got to the mid-game, last game, Paul would ult or Paul would get knocked up by the Chalk and he would die off the Raw ult instantly. I think now that they picked Hekate, there's not that same threat. Well, Raw was picked away, so they were forced to pick Hekate. There's not that same threat onto Paul. And Paul just looks a lot more comfortable this game. This is a combination of also Solo or Troll on the Raw has also looked really good. So I think this is a nice picks and bans adjustment by Cowabunga, and everything about Food Drive for Globe's comp just feels worse than last game. The Almagon, there's no Raw. They're losing the solo lane so much harder. There's a bunch of different reasons, and like rounding it all out, the bow on it, this Sobek has just looked a lot better than that Yemoja did last game.
Yeah, I do think there was a lot of fear on that duo side. And I mean, they first picked Sobek, and Food Drive still went Zeus Fenrir right after. And so, you know, like you said, P's and B's working out for them, but they picked into it, and then they clearly were afraid. They were like, oh, we actually can't go in on a roll at all. So if they knew at the start that, you know, that wasn't going to work against them, they still pick into it, still thinking they can get that aggression. And I mean, they just didn't play like they had that confidence in the first 5 minutes of the game. Cowabunga stalled them out. And this is the result. You're 15K up. You're about to be a lot more up. And you're just kind of playing now for game number 3. I mean, Food Drive for Globe, an impressive first game. Make no mistake about it. But you kind of pointed out some of their game 1 issues even inbound, right? You know, the slow to go off their wins, to do the stuff after the stuff. Slow to actually press their advantage. And they let Cowabunga stay in that game for a little longer than you might have expected. And Cowabunga came right back here in game 2 and showed you that difference. Now game 3, something's got to change for Food Drive for Globe. We're getting close to the end here as this left side Phoenix will drop. Really just waiting for the final call as everybody moves back. Food Drive just don't have the presence. They don't have the front line to really force a fight. They kind of have to take the wave and try to brace for impact.
Yeah, there's a level 20 Sobek just zoning 3 people, taking no damage. And even if he does take a little bit of damage, the raw sustain just helps out a ton. I mean, he's just walking at Happen and just bullying Happen out. And there's no clear that's able to really clear through the raw sustain on the buffs. These minions are getting buffed from the Gold Fury. It's getting buffed from the Raw 3. And, I mean, you're just shoving waves in. Food Drive for Globe can't even do anything. What's their engage looking like here? Oh, Happen could go in. Well, to get Happen to go in, you have to go through the purification on the Raw, and then just a bunch of CC immunity, and also the purification on Sobek. There's just nothing really Food Drive for Globe can do.
The pluck does get beezed out. Happen trying to hop on top of a roar, but you see Happen just got the backline. But he's out of the fight. Storm Call works out though, and Solo or Troll is forced to run quickly. Tried to blink out. Valo will pick up a kill. And of course, the Phoenix defense will give them a kill, but they're still kind of losing this fight as Aurora goes underneath, gets the kill on Globe, and won't get much more out of it. Okay, they do clean it up. I was like, surely not. Paul not going to escape very easily here. He gets body blocked by Karmic, forces the blink. Well, how about that? You don't see body blocks forcing blinks too often. Pop it on, Happen jumps over him. Valo picks up another kill. And all of a sudden, there's 3 dead players on Cowabunga. But look at Panatom over here. He's still going to find a way to get the Phoenix? No, Phoenix will live for now. Yarkor killing Valo. Oh, no. What happened?
I have no idea what is happening to Food Drive for Globe, but they were in such a good spot. But now that kill allows Panatom to get this right Phoenix, and maybe an opportunity for Yarkor to get the middle Phoenix. But Karmic keeps that in mind, does defend it. They still got that right Phoenix down again. It's just like, it just feels inevitable that, like, yes, they're fighting back a little bit. Yes, they're taking a few things. And I like this Fire Giant call, but they don't really have that much damage for this. Can the Raw get there in time? They have their teleporters.
Well, if you look over up in that chaos side, Minions. Whoa. I wasn't even looking at Titan. I wasn't looking at the map at all. I was watching Karmic chase Yarkor around. And the game's over. It's almost like one of my games where I wasn't paying attention at all. Like, oh wait, there's all the minions killing the Titan. Oh wow, what an anticlimactic ending to that game. And Cowabunga do force game 3 there inbound.
Yeah, I feel like I should have been paying attention to the minions. Usually I look at the mini map, but I was so focused on the Fire Giant and what was going to be happening in the next fight. But I mean, if you're not paying attention to those minions, they will end. And there was nobody pushing out the left wave. One person pushing out the right wave. After they got the kill, they rushed to Fire Giant. It is still just, that was a blowout. That was an all-inclusive, just destroying that Cowabunga just gave to Food Drive for Globe. It was not a close game. There was very few positives. And I think a lot of it is, I mean, I'll reiterate a few of it in the game because I spoke about it in game, but Valo's build was not good. It was not effective. Their P's and B's, they got outdrafted this game heavily. You have to switch up your P's and B's. You have to change how you're opting to play. And then Valo just has to build not Pendulum Blade into Cloak. It was just a bad build.
Well, we're going to go on a short break, but when we come back, we have the decider game to qualify for LAN. One game separates both these teams from that dream. Who takes it? Find out after the break.
afraid to turn out the lights? Is there something you're scared of? What's there out in the dark? Make sure to keep all your windows locked. Do you surrender? You try to stay awake. These walls you can't escape. Here's one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here. Bet you can't look the other way. Here's one for the broken road. That's the only one you know. You better run out, truth or dare. Get me out, take me anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Wanting something good to come, waiting for things to run away from. Are you just hiding? Yeah, walking into the fire, talking like you never die, like you're immortal. You try to stay awake. These walls you can't escape. Here's one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here. Bet you can't look the other way. Here's one for the broken road. That's the only one you know. You better run out, truth or dare. Get me out, take me anywhere but here. Here's one for the lonely hearts, for the ones that fear the dark. You better run out of here. Bet you can't look the other way. Here's one for the broken road. That's the only one you know. You better run out, truth or dare. Get me out, take me anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Oh, anywhere but here. Anywhere but here.
Welcome back, everyone, into the SMITE 2 Founder Series Playoffs North America Edition. As we continue marching forward to try and figure out who these teams are going to be that qualify. We already got one in team... That's team name but with 5 M's. And now we're trying to figure out the second one. And we're still trying to figure out the second one because this set has been pushed to the limit. Game 3 is on the horizon, but we need to talk about Game 2. Game 1, Food Drive for Globe, they're able to win it. Pretty competitive, back and forth, but ultimately I think it was like one big fire giant fight that really kind of sets them on the path to victory. This time around, kind of the other story, Cowabunga, pretty dominant all around, but J-Mac at the end, massive Titan defense. Feels like it's going to be crazy. 4 dead on one side. Oh, there's a minion wave.
Yeah, we'll just leave that
And
one
that, yeah, well, and there's another minion wave.
Yeah, we'll just leave that one alone.
And then, hey, guess what? Here's another minion wave.
We probably shouldn't leave that one alone, but that ends up being what happened. Is Food Drive for Glove have a really good defense, but when we see Panatom walk back over to the right side, instead of dealing with the minion wave, Food Drive said deal with Panatom, and then they think, oh, well, let's just rush the Fire Giant. We can take care of this, ignoring the fact that there was 2 Fire Minion waves pushing forward and one that was already dealing damage to their Titan while that entire thing was happening beforehand. Yeah. So when you start stacking up all these minion waves together, yeah, the Titan's going to die pretty quickly. And I'm sitting here watching, I'm watching it live in the chat. I'm going, guys, Titan, hello? Titan, Titan
all caps, you're just like, Titan.
Guys, there's the minion wave there. But outside of that, yeah, outside of the last defense there, which is a great defense for Food Drive for Globe, this was a slow strangling of a game for Cowabunga because Cowabunga realized that they don't need to fight Food Drive for Globe. The dual lane of Zeus, Fenrir has to be the ones to be aggressive. Aurora and Yar can sit back and go, cool. We don't gotta do nothing. We don't gotta fight you. We don't gotta try and go for your buffs. We just need to get our buffs, farm up to late game, and wait for the team fights to happen, because the Fenrir is going to fall off. It's almost inverse, where like Fenrir used to be able to, get a little bit better as the game goes on because he gets a little bit tankier. It doesn't need a whole lot of damage, but right now, Fenrir needs to get that early lead, especially if you're playing him in support, because you don't have a lot of base damage in your kit comparatively, as you did even a couple of patches ago where Fenrir was good at all stages of the game. Fenrir's support is not as good in late game anymore, especially when you're the primary initiator for the team and the primary setup for your squad as well. So as long as Cowabunga is sitting there going, okay, we don't gotta do nothing. Let's throw our hands up, let the farm happen. If we gotta sit under tower for a little bit and let you guys bring waves to us, we'll also do that. Because Cowabunga is just farming more efficiently at every step of the game. A Gold Fury here, a Gold Fury there. Does not matter what Food Drive for Glow is doing, because the first blood didn't happen until 15 and a half minutes. There was literally just nothing going on. A couple of attempts at fights, but nothing actually managed to break through. And that's what would end up being the victory for Cowabunga. Not just because, Food Drive forgot about minion waves, but because they were able to deny Food Drive for Globe the style of play that they wanted to bring.
And now the question is, how do you answer that, right? And do you change up your style? What adjustments do you make? Maybe are really the only thing that needs to be answered. We jump to Picks and Bans game number 3. Winner will qualify for land. Loser not out, but they got a hell of a bracket to go through. If I remember correctly, loser of this goes up against Borscht. So you start off in an incredibly hard matchup, and then I believe winner of that one, loser gets eliminated, then winner of that one would play winner of Scrumptious, and I think it's Kitty Party that are down there right now still going on. So it does not get easy anytime. In fact, it's not easy now, as it turns out. 1-1, the tie is scored. Food Drive for Globe. First pick, Ra gets banned, Ama gets banned. And now the question is, what do you want to go for? Are you going to go for Sobek? We've seen actually pretty popularly up here. Feel like Zeus has been something they've favored pretty heavily. Anubis, the Chalk, those we talked about a whole ton earlier. So there's only one group that can answer it. It's them. But that pressure that now is on there, and we see this and talk about this as the meta for a specific set starts to change. By game 3 is when you start to see it hit, hey, this is for us specifically now. It's not whatever's good. It's like, this is what you've been playing that's good and annoying. This is what we've been playing that's good and annoying. And now we got to change it up and figure things out. We will get some of those gods. Sobek first pick. Chalk is the answer.
Yeah, I do like the ban of Raw by Food Drive, recognizing that they had success with it, Cowabunga had success with it, so instead of trying to fight over this one pick for this first slot, go ahead and take it away and grab one of, if not the best gods in the game right now in Sobek. His flexibility for solo and support primarily has been played in support for some of these two teams out here. We'll see if this one ends up finding its home in the solo lane against the Chalk, or maybe just keep in this dual lane and you kind of be the aggressive style play. I mean, Sobek and Fenrir operate very similarly in the style of play they want. They want to be in your phase, dive in, jump on top of the enemy, and really try and get kills early. The better thing for Sobek is where Fenrir has to jump in, use one ability, and then press 4, use another ability, and then literally walk an enemy to you. Sobek just has to hit 1. He just has to hit the pluck, and all of a sudden the enemy is now right back into your backline. And that's the benefit that Sobek has over a Fenrir, and it's on a much shorter cooldown than Ragnarok is. So I like this style of aggressive. If they're going to keep the Zeus in the dual lane, Sobek's a great pair with him because he really helps the early wave clear, and he provides a whole new level of peel that some other gods don't out there. And then you pair it with the Loki. This is just a lot of damage that can go in the jungle, kind of get more of a traditional jungler for Valo in that way. Opposite side for Cowabunga, they're not really straying too far from their plan, is what I would say, until this Athena gets drafted. And Athena is one of those gods where through almost all of her existence of Smite 1, and almost all of her existence of Smite 2, I always sit here and go, how can Athena ever be bad? She has a very large cone, everybody look at me, you need to pop beads or else you're probably going to die button. But the taunt just hasn't felt as impactful in Smite 2 as it maybe could have, and it's also still very telegraphed. You know when Athena wants to taunt you because she's gonna charge up dash and ooh, here I come, guys, and as soon as she pops there, you stun her, you just walk away from her at that point, just do whatever. So Athena paired with Anubis means if you do catch somebody out, they're gonna die, but you have to be able to catch them out. I imagine Talisman of Purification is going to be on the mind for whoever this is playing in the mid lane. Probably going to be the Hecate, since the Zeus has been selected alongside of it. And the Hercules kind of thrown into the mix too, where Hercules had a really good breakout week. Hasn't really had that same level of performance, but still has a lot of CC, still has an immense amount of damage, and is such a tanky god to try and deal with.
Yeah, that's actually one I'm excited to see, just because, was it last week? We got that insane triple. And do I expect to see Blink triple plucks from Hercules every week now? Absolutely. You better be doing it. Like, what's the point of locking him in if you're not giving me flashy plays? But realistically, I think it's just going to be fun, right? And between that, displacement, like him, Sobek, like together, it's kind of wild, especially with the damage setup they're going to have behind it. Going back to the Zeus, that felt really good. Thanatos at the end, the Athena locked in, some really spicy picks coming in towards the end for Cowabunga, and a lot on the line. Qualification to Lamb will happen for one of these two. The question is who, and the only way to find out is to go down to our casters.
Oh, you can't ask for much more in a decider match to qualify for LAN. You had Food Drive for Globe take game 1, where Cowabunga, this is kind of their bracket. You almost maybe expected a 2-0 out of them, as good as Food Drive for Globe is. I mean, look, credit to Malum, one of our casters. You know, he's been speaking Food Drive for Globe's praises since, in his own words, August. So it's been a while that he's been talking about this team. And look, they've showed their colors in this game. For sure, Inbound. However, that game 2 has me really worried for this team. That goes a little bit different in the draft for them. A little bit, as in, like, they steal the Sobek and they go Hercules with Valo instead of the Odin this time. So you got some differences, and you talked about the P's and B's being part of your issue for Food Drive and where you wanted to see them clean it up. How do you like how they went?
The better shakeup than game 2. I just don't have an issue with Hercules as a character. I think since they nerfed him a few times, I don't think he feels like the same impactful character. And yeah, we saw Drake put on a performance with that just last week, but that was in jungle. That was building full damage Hercules, who doesn't really get those same nerfs that tank Hercules got, because a lot of it was like base damage or strength or his passive. That was the place that got hurt. He really just doesn't do that much damage from the solo lane now. So I'm a little worried about that. And especially when you compare it to Chalk, I think Chalk is going to outlane him. I think Chalk is going to play better in the mid game. And I think Chalk is going to play better in the late game. However, all it takes is one pluck push combo in the late game from Karmic onto a character like Panatom or Paul or Yarkor. And then we're talking about a completely different story and how Hercules is so very broken. There is still that, but it still is just a slight worry, I think. TechVR losing that purple buff again. Happen going for that purple buff invade. Another just purple trade. There was a lot of damage though onto Aurora. And Yarkor, this is kind of like the same setup that happened in game 1. They got that level 2 first. Yes, they got 2 purple, so it's slightly different. But they got that level 2 first, and then they just zoned away both Aurora and Yarkor, and they ended up killing Aurora when he was level 1. As long as that doesn't happen, I think the Zeus feels a lot worse the later this, the later the game goes. Zeus does scale, yes, but I think his level 2 is when he's very, very scary, because he's got this axe that does 40 damage, which is chunking you, and then he's also just doing a lot of in-hand damage that you can't really, trade back with. So yes, Zeus is a scaling character, but I think as long as you get past this level 2, level 3, that's when you can kind of fight back against him.
What's interesting too to me is the Cernanos and no Jingwei in the lobby. How many lobbies have we seen where Jingwei wasn't picked or banned? Has been such a centerpiece in the meta. Especially for Hunters. I mean, you talked about Jingwei far and away the best ADC. EMEA certainly feel that. But you've mentioned it a couple times today how Jingwei not really prioritized in NA, and I mean, none more prevalent than this game right here where she doesn't even make that appearance. Granted, it is kind of an off matchup, right, with the Zeus ADC. That being said, I mean, it worked fine last time. Now happen on that Sobek. Should be a little different. Meanwhile, Solo or Troll facing a little bit of trouble as he's still getting action from Valo. And Valo on the Loki this time. Curious how that will go for him. We were critical of Valo in the last game about him on the Odin being unable to really dictate the flow of the game. On the Loki, we'll be able to do a lot of damage. We'll see if he can have a bigger impact on the arena. Tegveer getting taunted, forced out of the CC immunity, and Panatom comes right through to pick up the kill, get the first blood. That's exactly who you wanted on two. Happen will escape, but the damage is already done.
And I think you say that perfectly. That's who you want your first blood on, because this Loki-Thana matchup is so volatile. It is whichever character is ahead will just make the other character's life impossible. If Loki's ahead, he just invises on you. If he ever hits you with that first auto, you are dead. If Thana is ahead, he just walks at you. If you ever invis, he just threes you and then kills you right after. And if you ult away, he ults after you. It's such a difficult matchup, and you need to get ahead. So I think that was an important kill to go over to Panatom, and now he's able to kind of make plays based around that. And especially because Valo made that play on solo side of the map, and they didn't get that first blood. So that's how close that kind of, you know, trade ganks are. We got the first blood on the Thana instead of the Loki, but maybe in another world, Loki gets that first blood, and now we're talking about a completely different game. But to your point about Jingwei, it's so interesting how characters can be deemed so much differently in both EMEA and NA. NA thinks, you know, Anubis is like the best character in the game, and we really didn't see any Anubis in EU. And then Jingwei's broken in EU, but, you know, Zeus and CERN are the good ADCs in NA. And I just love seeing the different comps come up between these different regions. What's OP in this region, what's bad in that region. It just makes this tournament upcoming that these teams are playing for so much more exciting.
I agree. And I mean, you're seeing some of those picks, like the prevalence of like the raw solo, but we've been seeing Hades solo, but you see it picked specifically to counter the raw earlier today as well. Like, you're just seeing a lot of things that you maybe not normally see even in this region. Not even talking about the region difference, but I think before today, everyone's kind of wondering like who's going to win between Team Risk and Cowabunga, right? And you're still kind of asking that question. But Food Drive, with this picks and ban stage, and with how this initial fight has gone, you know, they have to find a way to respond, because Cowabunga have kind of had their number now for, if we're counting the minutes from the last game, the last 30 minutes. And this first 5 minutes, they're even struggling. They're doing okay in this duo side, but Tegveer keeps getting pushed back. They're not getting the value out of the invade they were hoping for, because they're just trading the invades with one another, which is just great work from Cowabunga, recognizing, look, we can go for that steal, even if they get something out of it. If we're even, we're winning. That still ends up being the case, as happened. We'll sit in the grass, wait for that clear, and Globe, who has not been able to have that kind of effect here against Paul. You can kind of understand why Cowabunga will just have Paul stick on the Anubis, and why they might think he's one of the best in the game. I guess when Paul is handling Anubis, he certainly feels like he's one of the best gods in the game. Valo paying a little bit of attention over here. Again, trying to lock down Solo or Troll. This is their second attempt to do so, but Solo or Troll just won't give them the positioning. Too aware of what's going on. Won't get baited in.
And something that I'm seeing also right now, Panatom opting for a different jungle item this game. He's going for Avatar's Parachute, the item that gives you int scaling on an active 20%. More of a late game item again, but I think it is a slightly different scenario here, because this fan is ahead, and getting this item when you're ahead allows you to kind of snowball the game a little bit more. I think Pendulum from ahead can allow you to snowball the game a little bit more. It's different when you're behind, which is why I think it was such a big issue last game. A pluck onto a roar should be fine here, but he will take a lot of damage. They do have a lot of CC. Maybe not fine. Actually, they drop double ultimates, take down a roar, use that execute, and get 25 extra health onto that Sobek. Which, by the way, one of my favorite mechanics that they added was Sobek getting health off of his executes.
That's pretty cool. I will say it's pretty nice to get the execute knowing you get a perma buff on top of it. Meanwhile, Death Gaze got popped to save Paul from getting ulted into the Hecate's tower. Good response, but also good play from Globe. Forcing that ult out. I mean, you trade out the ults there, but you also prevent yourself from dying. And you know, the Paul versus Globe matchup continues to be an interesting one for sure. That game number one, Paul had gotten an early kind of advantage on him, but Globe had some nice snipes to keep them back in the game when he was raw mid. And the mid matchup has been fun to watch purely because there really hasn't been a distinct advantage in that lane. This has very much been won in the jungle and on the edges for Cowabunga.
Yeah, we've seen a couple plays, and honestly, game one, I think Globe made a lot of sick plays that kind of helped his team get the win. And then game 2, I think Paul was making a few plays that helped his team get to the win. But neither of these two teams, the mid laners, have been the focal point. And that's surprising to say for a Paul team and a Globe team, because, I mean, Food Drive for Globe, this is Globe's team. It's named after him. And Cowabunga, I mean, when you have Paul on your team, that's like the centerpiece of your team. So very interesting that you're 100% right. The side lanes have been dictating a lot of these. The junglers really haven't been doing too much either. It's been, I mean, realistically, it's been Tegvir game 1. I think Tegvir and Happen game 1. And game 2, it was Aurora and Yarkor with a little bit of solo control. So you're 100% right to highlight how important these side lanes have been. And with that kill over in dual lane, shutting down Tegvir, he gets a little bit back with that execute that Happen gets to kind of give him a fighting chance, because if you just keep snowballing the Zeus, you keep killing the Zeus, there's really not much he's going to be able to do. And Happen opts for this Glad Shield first, so he doesn't have that purification, where if he ever gets dash taunted or if he ever gets stunned by the Thanatos, he doesn't get that immunity, so they can still make plays over here, at least until that item is finished, which should be next.
Happen went pretty deep. Takes a little bit of time for Tegvir to finally get involved to get some of that damage out. Lurking in the waters as well. They want to get him into so execute range, but no. Just outside of it, maximum charge, and you get maximum deleted. Happen. Goodbye. Tegvir was unwilling to get in there and get dirty with Happen, and as a result, Happen drowns.
And that is a bad death to be had, because you are trying to win this duo lane and you are trying to snowball your Zeus. That death and giving that kill over to Aurora, it just makes it so if this Athena ever plays up, it's going to be a lot harder to kill her. And if Yarkor is even with this Zeus, they'll both be somewhat effective. An ult here onto the Thanatos. At this point, that's just a trade. You don't have that real true damage, but it goes back into Tegvir.
Yeah, well, hit the death site, was able to heal a little bit, had a shield on top of it, thanks to Defender of Olympus. They've actually pulled the Gold Fury a little bit. Valo will get the kill on Panatom. Well, Panatom thought he could turn around on it, but came around, and there's the Loki. There's Valo. Happen will get credit for the kill. Aurora goes down. Globe's here to play as well to push it, and all of a sudden, Food Drive for Globe catch Cowabunga sleeping a little bit and get the trade that they want. Not even a trade. They just straight up get a 2 for nothing.
And that's a disaster play there by Panatom. Going back in, Happen then appears around the corner, and then they just run down Panatom, and Aurora sticks around, tries to peel him out because he ulted into Panatom, and there's just nothing to be had there. They get the double kill, they get this purple buff. Very good last few seconds by Food Drive for Globe, last 30 seconds, kind of gets them back into this game. And if I'm looking at the late game, I see Food Drive for Globe's comp and I see Cowabunga's comp. I'm worried how Cowabunga's going to play this late game. Yes, Chalk is a very good late game character now. Thana's not really. Anubis is a very easy character to kind of deal with late game because he's very, I'm just going to wrap and a pluck onto Yarkor here. Okay, I was a little worried there's going to be an all in there. Yarkor does end up living, but Anubis in the late game is very straightforward. I'm going to try to wrap somebody, ult 100 to 0 them, and then I'm going to stand still. Athena gets very hard to dash taunt late game. CERN, you can deal with him late game because he doesn't have any CC immunity in his kit outside of this beads. And you compare it to Food Drive for Globe. I mean, we've seen how good this Zeus gets in the late game. Hecate is a very strong late game character from the mid lane. A lot of damage, constant CC ability, or constant abilities harassing you, and it has that ultimate playmaking potential. Loki's one of the best late game junglers. I do think Herc is not the greatest late game character, but Sobek's also very solid. So you see how good this late game is for Food Drive for Globe. They can just keep this game even. If they can just win 1, 2, 3 fights in the late game, which I think they can with their comp, they can take home this game and they can upset Cowabunga.
I mean, this is where, like, you like this, just the 1v1 matchup, like Zeus, CERN late game. You would rather have the Zeus, right? Or at least for your personal, or how you're angling it. Like, CERN kind of drops off a little bit in that late game, but is Zeus's damage output enough to really be on top of him in that late game? You think that's a distinct advantage?
I think it's very close because of the build that Tegvir goes for. I wouldn't be surprised if actually Yarkor does a tiny bit more damage, but it's a lot harder to deal with this Zeus with that build he's cooked up. So I would give a slight edge to Tegvir.
Well, they're starting to Gold Fury. Food Drive for Globe are definitely getting the food going. Aurora will take a little peek. But of course, who will sit right there and poke him out? Karmic finding his way in. Rock is out as well. Pops the ult and everybody falls onto Karmic. Well, look at all of that damage done by Lightning Storm on the other side. Phantom does get the kill falling down onto Karmic, but he's going to pay with his life. Valo gets another kill. Gold Fury did fall to Food Drive for Globe, and Cowabunga are on the run. Plucked right in the Globe, right into your death. Huge plays for Food Drive. They're playing like they want to go to land. Valo will still get deleted though. Solo or Troll, the last one standing here in the mid lane with everybody forced out. He's able to survive for a very long time, but he needs to get out. He's just trying to prevent any kind of objective play. Pluck and dead. Finally falls. Another huge team fight here for Food Drive.
What a phenomenal play by Food Drive for Globe. That is now 2 fights in a row where they're doing exactly what they need to do. Karmic is zoning around an objective. It makes the Gold Fury free. They try to overcommit to Karmic. They burn a lot of abilities onto him, but abilities are traded back. Karmic does get executed, but there was just a really strong fight by Food Drive for Globe after that Gold Fury, and after just a really good Gold Fury call. Solo or Troll gets out-rotated by Karmic. Karmic's able to set up, and then chasing down Solo or Troll, killing him, not allowing him to farm. Chasing down Panatom, killing him, not allowing him to farm. Chasing down Aurora, same thing. Athena's a character where if you're not able to dash taunt, you will be useless. That is your bread and butter. That's why the character's picked. If you can't do that, you are useless. Now, granted, Cowabunga, they did lose that Gold Fury. They did lose that fight, but they're getting a little bit of gold back with this Pyromancer. My issue, again, still stands where I'm worried with Cowabunga's late game. I think they just get outscaled. The positive is they're a very good team fighting team. Like, as players, they team fight very well, but they're going to be fighting an uphill battle if this game goes late, goes to level 20s, gets to full build. I like how Food Drive for Globe is playing. Like, seeing how they team fight now gets me excited for that late game.
You know, Team Butt with 5Ms have already qualified for LAN. It's crazy to me that the 3 teams here that we're talking about making that push to LAN, these 2, and then Borscht waiting in the lower bracket for the loser of this one. The fact that one of these 3 teams aren't going to be going to LAN is crazy, especially with the way Food Drive are playing right now against Cowabunga. We watched Cowabunga just slowly bleed them out in game 2. Food Drive could do absolutely nothing, right? No kill until 15 minutes into the game. They were getting out-farmed. I mean, it was basically a desert for Food Drive for Globe. No cows, no farming, no nothing. And I mean, now this time, I mean, you know, it's a good year. The rains are coming. The growth looks great. The cows are mooing. And you're in a solid position here. 3K up against Cowabunga, the best team in North America. You're not even the 2 seed. And you're taking it to them right now in game number 3. This is such a great return to form after that game 2 where they couldn't do anything at all. They're sticking on this Zeus ADC. They're sticking to what works for them. They're sticking to their comfort, but they are also playing to Cowabunga. They're not just going to let them play the way they did before. They take the Sobek away. And now, how well has that worked? How good has Happen looked on this Sobek? Just showing you how good this god is. And getting him first pick is really working out. I'm still kind of looking at Solo or Troll late game for this Chalk. He's still a game changer, right? Yes. Panatom has been shut down. He hasn't had that effect in the jungle that you hope for in the first 15 minutes. It may come down to Solo or Troll changing the dynamic of this game.
Yeah, I think you hit everything on the head right there. And I think we have to shout out, especially with how critical I was of Valo in game 2. This Loki is looking just way better. I like his build. I like how he's playing team fights. I like how he's pathing and where he's looking to try to make plays. This is a much better game from Valo. And this is the game we'd wanted in game 3. If he gets ahead, Loki is a pain to deal with. Right now, currently, he is, I mean, he is a little bit ahead, but it's very little. And now he's rotating over to this fight. Roar might just die here with how much damage that this Loki, this Zeus have. Forcing out that purification is a very nice play before this Gold Fury spawns. Food Drive for Globe is firing on all cylinders.
Karmic's still waiting around. Valo's got a ton of shield as well. He could tank that whole death sight. You still have Panatom there. A little Gold Fury pool is unleashed. Hovering death up. He wants to go. It didn't work out last time for him. Rock is thrown by Karmic. He's waiting for his moment, but he actually went down onto a CC immune Karmic, who will still fall. The Solo or Troll coming in, and this might turn around quickly. Valo's in some trouble. Down by Panaton, and it forces Food Drive for Globe off the Gold Fury. And uh-oh, Cowabunga win a fight. They've got Gold Fury in hand now, and it's starting to come back quick.
And we're seeing the issue with how Karmic is playing. He's playing like he's not playing against an execute character. He's walking up really far. He's using his dashes aggressively. He has to play a little bit smarter because he is just eating the wrap, eating damage, and then getting executed by Panatom. There, he doesn't even get executed by Panatom because he got bursted so quickly. It was just the damage that helped kill him. But it's just Karmic needs to play these late game fights a little bit smarter. You are not unkillable into an Anubis. You have to remind yourself that you are not that tanky, especially because you consider it, this execute makes it so you're dead at 70% health, or sorry, 30% health, and it's going to be scaling up even more the more points he gets into it. You have to be aware that you are not a character with 100% health. You have what, 80%, or you have 60% that you really can give up, and then that last 10% you have to be really smart with. So I need to see Karmic play a lot, not more selfishly, but I need him to play with just more regard for his health bar. And if he does that, if he makes it so Panatom can't just execute him, it makes Cowabunga's game plan impossible, because that's what they need to do.
Happen avoided the taunt used lurking in the waters. Not sure about that one, but obviously Happen didn't want to die. I feel like he still found a way to survive. He did use his dash to get away initially, so everything was on cooldown. Very possible he just dies if he gets taunted there. Did have a little bit of support, but either way, you don't have that ult for later, and you'll let Solo Troll back, I guess. Don't want to force that fight. He has had a lot bigger of a presence here in the last, what, 3 or 4 minutes since he started rotating over. Got a lot of his utility online with that cloak into shield. He's got his hunter garb on now with Talisman of Purification. Solo Troll feeling good, and Panatom, it's kind of been 50-50 with his hover and death. He's gotten value out of it, but has also put him in some pretty difficult spots. That's the first time you really see him use it to just get away in the game so far. But you're not getting, you didn't get the early game Thanatos you were hoping for after that first blood. He wasn't able to press as easily. He actually has gotten a level advantage after the last 2 fights over his jungler partner. Here's a little fight again with the ult, forces of beads, and a barely alive Aurora finally gets taken down by Valo. Still looking good. Solo or Troll trying to zone the rest of them out. Happy to stay around and play with Shock as he dances through the rain. However, a little dry Paul with the ult. Tegveer gets deleted, and that's a lot of damage done. Or a lot of damage gone, rather, for Food Drive for Globe. They're hanging around a little too long here, and the longer they hang, the quicker they die. Karmic gets forced out of it. You're not going to get a pop-up on to Panatom, and this is, we're starting to see these slight misplays here for Food Drive. Another broken team fight.
And they found the initial pick. It's just like they're trying too hard to make it this massive win. There's plenty of stuff up that you can walk to try to get after. We have every single tower available on the map. You could go for any of the towers. You could go for a fire giant and threaten that and then look for a pick. It's just they are getting that 1 kill and then they're misplaying off of that. Maybe I was curious if Karmic would see them. Dashton is still available, but I think he's just too far. Yarkor does dash in. He doesn't have Fatalis. He's just gonna run him down.
Uses the rock. That may save you for now. It actually does, but only for a little bit, because that's 3 people you got to avoid, and you got to avoid the grasping hands as well. Yeah, it's not going to work out for you, buddy. That was a full commit to make sure that Karmic died. Die he did. Get a little bit of attention from Happen here, sitting in the jungle grass of Fire Giant. It will be a tough task to steal it as he gets caught out and completely zoned out of the play. You got Panatom. Not Panatom, excuse me, Tegveer lurking as well. So Fire Giant, don't know.
Your team has
this is taking a little bit of time. They are kind of dancing around, waiting to see if Happen will take himself out of position again. Paul just says, screw it, I'm going for him. Went up, missed the wrap though. Happen forced to dash out. And they've got the presence, they've got the position right now. I don't think they're too confident in the fight with so many up, but look, Loki's on the other side of the arena right now, pushing up that tier 2 on the left side. You also have Globe, who's flushing over to that left side. They could take that fight if they wanted. It's just Tegveer and Happen, but I think Tegveer is the big eyesore right now for that Fire Giant fight. They're pulling off a little bit, very patient with how they want to play it, waiting to see if they can fully catch one of them out. Tegveer immediately gets back, so they don't overposition Food Drive for Globe. They don't get picked, because Tegveer going down there would have been a massive loss. They were almost guaranteed to get the Fire Giant after that.
And that Fire Giant pull by Cowabunga was slightly awkward. They had the 1 kill, and then they also had Valo showing in left, but they weren't able to really commit to happen. They weren't really happy to commit to Fire Giant either. So they're stuck trying to make a play where I don't think there was really a play to be made. But that's time wasted where Valor's now level 19. You have level 19 also on the Hecate, who was also farming that time. It's becoming a little bit of a, yeah, Cowabunga's won these last few fights. They've gotten maybe a couple picks here or there. But Cowabunga is kind of getting out farmed still. They're up in kills. They're down in gold. It's not massive amounts, but it's showing you like what's happening in this game. The macro kind of seems to be in favor of a Food Drive for Globe, and this is kind of what we saw in game 1. Just stronger macro from Food Drive for Globe. Game 2, it was Cowabunga. That seems to be the real dictation of who's winning. Both these teams are very even in terms of mechanics and how they're playing, but which team is making the better plays when it matters? And so far, it's really been Food Drive for Globe. And as we scale farther and farther into this game, I want to mention it again because I think it is so important. I need Karmic to play really smart with his health bar, because the only chance Cowabunga has to really, you know, make plays or get fights started is trying to kill either Karmic or Happen. And I think Happen is, for the most part, played very smart with his health bar, because usually he's playing more backline peel. If you don't get executed, I think Food Drive for Globe can win most of these fights, but that's a big if. If you cannot get executed, you will win the fights.
Pyromancer going down quickly for Food Drive. Should be contested. Solo Patrol will throw the axe, and that forces them to off the leash. Happen will keep Solo Patrol locked in. Meanwhile, everyone else is trying to get into the jungle, but Tegbeer is zoning them out. Hecate has the ult, finds nobody. It does zone everybody out, though, so Globe, you get something out of it. Meanwhile, Happen's in a little bit of trouble, forced out on the ult, but it's not going to give you any movement speed, and the Storm Call will shock the waters and kill Happen. That's a lot of front line gone. Karmic, the second half of that front line here for Food Drive. We'll stay alive, but it may open up some space here for Cowabunga. However, just missing on the driving strike, as Hercules couldn't quite follow up on the pop there. And I mean, Karmic, you also talk about him, like he can't just walk up and walk in. We see him get dove on immediately. And unless you have all of your damage dealers right near you, even then, you might not find the value out of the Hercules that you're hoping for. Right? You're just kind of hoping like he has to kind of be backline or peel just by nature of where Hercules' state is right now. But that pluck and driving strike can be so deadly and can really turn the tables of a fight if you time it correctly, if you position yourself right. It just comes down to that position. It comes down to timing for Food Drive for Globe. You're not winning these fights outright. In fact, you're losing some of these, and your gold lead that you had built up a little while earlier has completely melted away, and Cowabunga have made this a complete question mark as they tear down this tier 1 tower. You have a little bit of support from Karmic to help defend, but Karmic's the only one over here. That tier 1 should fall. Meanwhile, Paul is ulting in the mid lane, has the wrap. Doesn't matter if the Hecate ult's coming out, you're still gonna get a kill, at least a trade. Globe will take down Paul for it. You had to make sure he goes down for that effort. Aurora will find the taunt into the shields, into the pluck. Do they have anything here though? Panatom's just kind of waiting around, waiting for sight. Oh my god, massive damage! Tegbeer comes through! Oh, the god of the gods has the lightning, and Panatom got deleted.
And that is just a nice play there by Food Drive for Globe. Cowabunga overcommits to that fight. Paul kind of gets caught out, forced to go for the trade, does get the trade, but then Panatom is also trying to just get more than that was there. Tegbeer with the nice rotation, now able to break down this middle tier 1, giving them an opportunity to, especially as this game goes farther, maybe a potential end. You have a bunch of tier 2s up on both sides. You actually have every single tower still up for Food Drive for Globe, but tier 1 in left, tier 2 or tier 1 in middle, both down for Cowabunga. Potential ending scenarios later into the game, both of those spots, but Gold Fury pulled right now by Food Drive for Globe. 3 on the right side by Cowabunga. Want to make sure there's no Fire Giant pull here during this. They know the Gold Fury has now been killed. They know that there's a lot on that side of the map. So now it's kind of a little bit of a lull for the next few seconds. Both teams resetting, getting ready for their next spikes. And again, as we get to these later portions of this game, we've seen how both of these teams want to play. It's very clear. It is a very clear front to back for both teams. As we get farther though, again, Thanatos Execute makes it so these tanks are a lot easier to kill. When you're playing front to back, you want to kill tanks. Panatom allows him to be involved in this tank killing, and I don't think Valo has that same opportunity. So Valo's gonna have to get really creative with how he wants to play these fights. He has to make sure, you know, either Paul's uncomfortable or Yarkor's uncomfortable, because they really don't have much threat onto those two. We've seen a lot of damage pluck onto Panatom here, actually.
Forced to blink out immediately, too. He lost a ton of health off that pluck. Tegvir was right there waiting for him. And Panatom will live for now. And I mean, this is just such an interesting point of the game right now for Food Drive. You're winning, but you're also kind of on a knife's edge, where one fight goes wrong. It's very possible that Cowabunga push a lot of the objectives that they failed to get. All the tier 1s are still up for Food Drive, and all of them are gone for Cowabunga. So you got a little bit of pressure on that side as well. But you're still one team fight away from flipping this game into your favor. Like, sure, you've gotten a couple more kills with these last few. Paul actually ults the death gaze early happen. You saw that health bar drop real quick, but he got away from it. And now Paul doesn't have an ult for a little while. But everyone, it seems like Happen's gonna back. Everyone's gonna pull off here. So everyone gets warded off this fire giant. We keep teasing it, but we haven't really aggressed onto it yet.
And Paul's actually got so much CC that I actually like him just ulting whenever he sees fit, because if Purification isn't used right then and there by Happen, he gets low enough that Panatom can look for the execute. And that's where I'm starting to see Cowabunga's almost allowing Karmic and Happen to try to make plays so that they're pushing themselves out of position. And we got a Fire Giant pull by Food Drive for Globe. 5v5 is about to break out.
And Panatom looking for a way in. He's actually fully disengaging from it. This is the rest of his team is on the backside of their jungle. Here's the ult again, but Paul got absolutely clobbered. And Lurking in the Waters is up as well. Storm Call on the other side from Solo or Troll, trying to zone them out there, getting in front of it. Tegvir's doing a lot of damage. Yarkor got him though. And Solo or Troll pulling him out, trying to peel some people off. Aurora almost finds Valo, but has to leave the play immediately. And look how low on the other side as they Happen is chasing down. The Sertanos Happen will find Yarkor. That's another huge team fight for Food Drive for Globe. They get 3. And Tegvir's the only one to die for Food Drive for Globe. Are they about to take down Cowabunga?
And unfortunately, Tegvir being the one dying is worst case scenario, because they have 4 alive versus just 2, but there's nobody else on their team that does enough objective damage, so they can't really threaten it. However, if Panatom hits the ult onto Tegvir and actually executes him, he snowballs that fight into a massive win for Cowabunga. Unfortunately, he does end up missing, and pulling the Fire Giant in this is not a good call by Food Drive for Globe. Paul's about to be back. This is drop this now.
We'll see if they do. Food Drive slowly moving forward. Happen will happily tank the axe but miss the pluck, and that will make things a little difficult. Valo, be careful. You don't want to overextend. You might get caught by the rain dance, getting a little wet out there, forced to use the assassinate to get out of there quickly. And still invis his way out, but they get forced out of an engagement that they wanted to take. Tegvir just got back up. Karmic sitting on this side as well, but you have that numbers advantage. Solo or Troll sitting around, full wards around. They'll know what's going on here, and Solo or Troll will take down all of that wardage. But still, Cowabunga surviving for now in these fights, and really not too harmed in a lot of these. It feels like a toss-up in these team fights. Like if Happen misses a pluck inbound, I feel like everything is on the table for Cowabunga to take the fight. It all feels like it kind of hinges on him hitting the CC, or at least trading out some utility on Cowabunga. Otherwise, nobody goes on Food Drive for Globe. Nobody's confident that they could take that fight aggressively, especially with all the attention paid to Tegvir.
Yeah, and you're 100% right. Happen is on a, I mean, we've said it a few times now about the game, but Happen's game is on a nice edge where if he hits that pluck, that can be a winning fight. If he misses that pluck, he could be dead before he's, you know, out of that pluck animation. That's how much damage is on the side of both of these teams and how important both of these front lines are. I mean, we've seen Aurora dash taunt or look for a taunt without the dash, and how much damage Tegvir puts onto him, even in a couple seconds. If the front line plays a little too sloppy, that's just going to blow open the game. And we need to see, I mean, it's changed from Karmic and Solo or Troll as being the ones that were dying a little bit earlier. I mean, Solo only died one time, but at this point, it's been Happen and Aurora are the ones that are dying or winning their team the fight. So those two are really the most important right now. Usually the supports at this point in the game, I mean, they're like set up a little bit. They're maybe peeling a little bit, but It really is, I think, Aurora and Happen need to be playing very smart with their positioning, very smart with the engages that they are looking for, because those are the ones that will be dying very quickly. I mean, we've been dancing around this Fire Giant for a little bit now, and we've seen a couple fights around here, but those are the most important ones.
Another fight at the Fire Giant starting to break out. Panatom forced into hovering death. This could be a turnaround, though, for Cowabunga. He's actually going to completely leave the fight. Lurking in the water's also popping. Everybody backs out. Happen. You think he's survivable. You think he's got that survivability, right? You got the robe, you got Ruinous Unk, you got all these other things, and, I mean, it hasn't mattered at all. That health bar just dropped so quickly. And so it's like, you're in, you're out. Like, I mean, we've been saying it over and over again, but we keep seeing it in front with Happen. And this fight continues to shake over to the Fire Giant. We have been over here for 5 minutes. It has been, okay, we pull off a little bit, and we go back. It literally, at the 28-minute mark, we were here, and nothing has changed. Someone has to die. Multiple people have to die as they go across, trying to find a pick. Tegbeer on the other side drops the Lightning Storm, and another ult as well from Karmic. That's 2 ults down, and one of your most important damage-dealing ones down for a little while. And Valo going deep on this other side. That gives a little bit of confidence to Happen and Company to pull it. Aurora gets a bit of a taunt. Solo or Troll in the back line, helping Globe, and well, Paul found Globe, and Solo or Troll distracted him for a little bit on the other side. Defender of Olympus to help. Valo got Yarkor. Boom, down. So many kills. Valo and Globe are down, but so are Panatom and Yarkor. A lot of damage done on both sides. Lurking in the water. So Execute not gonna get him. He has to escape. And will barely live with his life. It's a 3 for 2, though, for Cowabunga. And Happen, maybe a 4th, but uses a little twirl, the tail whip. You still go down to Paul. Happen falls. Cowabunga survive. And my, oh my, what a game so far.
And what a kill onto Globe in the backline. Globe is not the one I expect to be dying in most of these fights, but he is the one that was taken down, and he's the one that gets this game blown open. And now with 3 alive versus just Karmic on the side of Food Drive for Globe, they have the damage for this, but it still will take them quite a bit of time. My only worry here is it takes too long that Globe is able to respawn. You have to either kind of fully commit to this Fire Giant, or you have to try to kill Karmic. Whichever one you decide, you have to make sure you do.
Karmic. See if we can get a little plug. He's like, hey, you know what? I missed. I'm getting out of there. That's kind of how you have to play the Hercules. He did use his ultimate a little earlier. I don't know if it's up yet. It is up, actually. He does rock right back into the Fire Giant. It's going low. Trying to driving strike. Trying to steal it. No way! How do you let Karmic steal that? That's unbelievable. He doesn't get the plug. But that should not be Food Drive for Globes. Are you kidding me?
Wait. Did he get it, or is that his passive? His passive has the same animation, because it doesn't look.
Oh yeah, I don't
it doesn't
see
look
it
like Globe has it.
No,
so maybe.
bro.
Okay, maybe he didn't steal it. Maybe he did not steal it, and they secured
man, it would have been hype if he did.
That would have been incredible. So now we have, I assume, Fire Giant on the side of Cowabunga. We'll have to see who was alive during that Fire Giant being confirmed. I don't know if it was all 5, if it was just 3, but at the minimum, Paul has it, Solo has it, and Aurora has it. We'll have to pay attention to Yarkor and Panatom if they have it to really know how valuable that Fire Giant was. But either way, Cowabunga has now set themselves up to a nice little spot to not necessarily put this game away. I think this Fire Giant is more of a, let's clear off all these towers. Let's maybe go for a Phoenix. But this is a very late game opportunity for both teams at this point. We're sitting at full build for solo laners, junglers, mid laners, and almost both ADCs. Actually, Yarkor just, oh no, he just still only has the tier 2. So almost full build for everybody in the game. Yarkor and then both supports are still missing it, but still very almost pick on Thana here. That is a play that Valo almost just one-shots him. Panatom lives about 2/3 health with that Athena shield. That is a nice play to try to slow down the siege by Valo.
He's such a tough character to lock down, and I think Valo is playing Loki so well. Even in that last team fight that they didn't end up winning, but Valo came in on that backline so late and found an important pick to keep that fight even. Like, he's just been playing Loki almost to perfection on these rotations, and it may come down to him finding that pick. And if he could keep forcing hovering death as a defensive maneuver, that helps a lot to keep your front line alive, to keep this Karmic and Happen in the game, continuing to peel in these team fights. But Cowabunga I mean, how about the turnaround for them? You win that team fight on the Fire Giant, you get the Fire Giant, despite a heroic effort from Karmic, and now you're starting to take over the game again. Cowabunga are showing you why they're the #1 seed in North America. Even when it looks like you have them on the ropes, they find a way to get in there, dodge a couple more punches, stay on their feet. They're not out of it until the bell rings, and that's not until the Titan falls.
And this has been such a good game 3 by both of these teams. Like game 1, game 2, pretty heavily decided by, I mean, Food Drive for Globe game 1, game 2 is Cowabunga. It's really cool that game 3 is both teams are playing very well. Both teams are playing exceptionally. We're going to the later portion of the game. And now it's just which team is going to play this next team fight better, because realistically, even killing 3 more enemies than your team loses, you have an opportunity to end. Yes, there's a tower, a tier 2 to go through in mid for both teams, and a tier 2 in solo lane for both teams, but we're 37 minutes. We're at the point in the game where the next team fight can win you the game or just lose you the game. This is not a we win this fight, we get fire. This is a we win this fight, we end the game. And we've seen a couple fights now set up, and it is really close to like both teams winning. We've seen fights by both sides that they've just heavily won. I mean, Karmic's gotten picked a couple times earlier. He's played near flawlessly since then. Globe got picked in one of the fights. That is not what you want to see. My eye has been on Panatom though. Panatom has not piloted this Thanatos in this late game very well at all. He's missing executes. He's getting picked. I need to see Panatom lock in for this next fight. But if you needed somebody to lock in, I mean, Panatom's the guy that you can believe in, that you need him to make a play. He's the one that's going to be able to make a play. He's very tanky at this point with the Pharaoh's Curse, with the Talisman. Very hard to pick off, but we've seen Valo nearly one-shot him a couple times now.
Well, things looking dire now for Food Drive for Globe in the upper bracket. They're not out of the tournament if they fall, but they got to go play Borscht after this if they can't win it. And here comes Solo or Troll, drops the Storm Call. There's Hovering Death, but he gets popped and knocked back into the tower. He's in some trouble, had to blink out, and he met Valo. Aurora goes down. Oh, Valo got a double kill. Globe gets another one. Solo or Troll. Uh-oh. Food Drive for Globe, taking him down. That's 4. The only one left is Panatom, and he can't do anything. He's got no health left. I think this game is over. They just turned it around on Cowabunga.
They have 1 minion in mid currently, and it looks like it's mostly full health. Panatom's trying to stop the next wave. The issue is they don't need another wave. They have just this 1 minion, which is all they need. Are we talking about Food Drive for Globe beating Cowabunga?
We're talking about an all-you-can-eat buffet, because Food Drive for Globe gonna be traveling, because they just qualified for land, taking down Cowabunga, sending them to the lower bracket. How about that? A 3-game thriller to go to the grand finals in the tournament and to qualify for land. Cowabunga fall to the lower bracket. What a match inbound. Whew.
Well, that was a phenomenal game to watch. Both teams played really well in that game 3, but really, Food Drive for Globe, when it mattered, Valo popped off. Like, phenomenal late game fights by Valo. His pick on the Fire Giant nearly killing the Thanatos slows down that siege. You have to praise Valo, because game 2, not a great game. Game 3, he comes back, he locks in, and he popped off in that last fight. Shout outs Valo for that last fight. I like, especially because game 2, I was maybe a little hard on him. Game 3, phenomenal game.
Absolutely amazing stuff there from Food Drive for Globe. I'm certainly a little shocked. I know a certain Malum who is watching and will be casting shortly is not surprised at all. No doubt he's wagging his finger saying, I told you so. But Gore, J-Mac, how do you guys feel? Did you see it coming?
Don't know if I could say I saw it coming, if I'm being completely honest, coming into this. I saw Malum's incredibly massive bet, but I had no idea how this was going to go. Did not expect the back and forth. And J-Mac, I don't know, I'm looking around. I don't see an asterisk on this one.
No, there's no asterisk on this set. This is a Food Drive for Globe victory, 2-1 in this best of 3, and they're your number 2 seed. Well, not seed, number 2 team at least jumping out. Still a seeding match to be had. But this is a hard-earned victory for this squad, because this is a team that jumped in. We watched them go through the open bracket, and they were able to make it pretty far in their first week. And we went, okay, well, you know, it's open brackets, best of 1s, you know, didn't really get the, the big success in their best of 3 matchup. are you guys really going to make it? And then their second open bracket week, they didn't do quite as good. Okay, maybe it was a bit of a fluke. Then they jump out through the Swiss stage, and they continue to show just how potent of a team that they can be. And we keep going from okay, this might be a top team. These guys could probably break into the top few. These guys have done it. They are your second team, and now technically your top 2 team going into the LAN for North America. And it's a bunch of guys who have never made SPL from SMITE 1. All those guys there, those are guys who have been playing SPL for years, if not for some of them, even upwards of a decade that they have been playing this game competitively at the top level of play. And they have now been de-seeded, dethroned here in this semifinal match by Food Drive for Globe, who again, it's players who have been sitting right there at the cusp of breaking into professional play at SMITE 1's era. But SMITE 2 is a completely different game. While it may functionally look the same, it's a MOBA. It's our third person, battleground of the gods. But the way that you play it is so different than how you play SMITE 1. Just from the objectives, the early stage of the game with fewer gods in the game, you really have to pay attention to the draft and the on-field style of play for these teams. And Food Drive for Globe have done just that.
And not only that, like you said, they've stamped their ticket to LAN. Like, they're going to be here. Absolutely insane to think about up front, because like you said, when we first saw them, not just in name, but in the bracket, we didn't really know what to expect for them. And now, not only that, they've moved forward. We can take a look at the bracket overall. And what you're going to see is that they're playing team name, but with 5Ms. Again, that one, it's just seeding. First seed gets a lot of selection power when it comes down to the LAN. You're going to be choosing the other team's group kind of draft style. So I believe it's going to be Team Risk that whoever wins that is going up against. So whether it's Team Name but with 5Ms or Food Drive for Globe, they're going to essentially be in a completely separate group. Great time to be not team or to be number 1 is to be not against Team Risk. You can just choose, who's going where. So you eliminate 2 teams, then we'll go forward with 6 of the 8. That's future talk though. That's all December talk. That's stuff you can read about on the blog. You can check Twitter in like 2.5 weeks, and it'll be explained there. What you need to know for now is that Cowabunga, surprise, surprise, are down in the losers bracket. J-Mac, not just in the losers bracket. They're against Borscht. This is going to be spicy. And winner of that will go up against the winner of Scrumptious and Kitty Party, which is absolutely insane. These 2 bottom matches, losers round 4, losers round 5. Now remember, winner of losers round 5, that one you see on the very bottom on the far right, that is the team that qualifies. Of the 4 teams that are down there, 3 of them go bye-bye. 2 up at the top, those finals, you're safe, you're coasting, you feel pretty good about it. But Cowabunga, Borscht, Scrumptious, Kitty Party, 1 of them is going to go to LAN. 3 of them are going to go home, and it's just a matter of finding out who. I still can't believe I'm having to say that about Cowabunga. The fact that Borscht and Scrumptious are down there, the names, this would be a terrible, 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 ugly graphic. But if you could just see all the names that are right there, like, it is such an insane powerhouse, I want to say, that exists. 3 of them, 4 of them, I mean, given what Kitty Party's been able to do from their open bracket in stage 2 to get to this point, I'm really, really, really excited for the next few matches, because there's just nothing but more, I guess, pressure on them, excitement for me that's going to be happening.
I think that's kind of the way to look at it. Is, these very top-end teams, especially ones that qualified, from the Swiss directly into playoffs, they've had time off. They haven't had to play competitive matches. They haven't had to show any strategies or show what they're doing. They just get to kind of sit back, scream, watch what everybody else is doing. For some of these other teams that had to go through the last chance qualifier, like Kitty Party mentioned before, they've had to grind their way through. They went for a 5-week open bracket, only dropped a single set during that, won both of their sets needed to qualify from the LCQ into playoffs, and now have to play against Scrumptious, who have been a bit on the decline as of recent. I think that's definitely a match that you want to keep eyes on. But outside of just that, the fact that we have so many powerful teams down in the losers bracket right now is a wild thought, that only 1 of those 4 get to go to LAN.
We knew coming into this weekend, 3 teams from EMEA, 3 teams from NA. We knew there were way more than that. We're incredibly powerful, but you got to win on the day of to make it happen. And right now, we've got 2 of them. Team name, but with 5 M's. Food Drive for Globe, guaranteed joining our EMEA teams and our LATAM teams in December. The question is, who is going to join them as the very last third final team, I guess technically eighth and final team overall? The only way to find out is on the other end of this quick break.